Welcome to our GenCon footage of the GenCon tournament. This was in August, right?
August of 2018.
Yeah, and then
so long ago.
Me and Matt are just sitting here, and we're gonna just kind of record a DVD-style commentary track. This is kind of the best way we could figure out to give you the game, to deliver it. What you're seeing right now is just kind of us really just getting started.
Let's go over kind of all the rules setup that they did. You know, as compared to our Patreon tournament, this is by the book. This is 100% as written. Everybody's already got their faction and their color assigned to it. So
they just straight up picked the faction.
Yeah.
They just picked it.
I think they did pick them in order. I think they rolled dice, but Speaker got to pick first. So Speaker has been doing everything first all the way around, and now they are just placing tiles per the standard rulebook competitive build.
This is at Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Colts run, where the Colts play, where the Indianapolis Colts play football. We played plastic and cardboard make-em-ups, pretend to be space people.
Yeah.
They play football, that's a big one.
We weren't the only people playing fake-em-ups in this here stadium on this day.
Right. A lot of people were playing make-em-ups. It was, and forgive the term, a lot of nerds.
Yeah.
I love this, what Purple just did there, throwing Berrig and Lair de Four down right in front of their, it was like the first opportunity that they had to throw down like a home slice spot, and they just went right for Berrig and Lair de Four right there at the top. That's great.
And they also got to lead with Tekara and Torcan right next to Mecatol, which is, that's 3 hazardous already in Naalu Slice, and not a bad spread of numbers.
Now, I will say the direction of the text being all different right now, I remember it then and I remember it now. It gives me a little bit of a panic attack.
Yeah, I'm freaking out.
So Purple is played by the Naalu Collective. Very, very good player. They're all great, by the way. They all had to win a game on their own.
Yeah.
Yellow is the Barony of Letnev. Not my favorite color choice for Barony, but that's what they went with, and that's fine. Green is playing as the Clan of Saar.
In the prelims, this was one of our favorite players.
Oh, for sure.
This was our favorite. The game he had in his prelim game was oh man,
really wild.
He's in the running for taking the whole thing. Same goes for our
black player, the L1z1x.
Thank you. Sorry, I was looking at it wrong.
Yeah.
Black player L1z1.
We have a blue soul, which early on I remember being whoa, geez, competitive style.
And there's the first block right there.
Right.
We see an empty space getting thrown right in front of them just to keep them from having the highway to Mecatol. And in red is the Hacan. So that rounds out our 6 players. We're seeing another block for Barony getting the asteroid field right in front of their home system. All the players who opted to not get good stuff right in front of them are getting punished for it right away.
Right. And competitive style, you really got to throw that best space down the second you get access to the ring in front of you. You really, really do. And I will say I feel like it very much affected Soul. Not to give too much away, but this is a very painful thing to do to Federation of Soul.
Yeah.
Who do you remember who you felt strongest about going into this game if you had to say who you were I think they really have it.
Our Saar player played as Saar in his first game too, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, a lot of them played repeats.
A lot of them played the same factions, but the Saar player, I remember every time I got to look over, he was doing crazy stuff, and then what you talked about in his game, and the fact that he was picking Saar again, and he got decent planets right in front of him. There's still more to have happen, but I just remember at the start of the game thinking Saar has this in the bag. He's already proven to do really well with Saar, and he's got a great slice to do more with Saar.
Yeah, the green Saar player was very. I would say there was some anticipation for their game. Black L1z1x was kind of the same way because their game was super buck wild. They actually played in the game against our frequent listener and Space Kitty Jimbo V.
Yeah.
Jimbo
was running away with it until this Black L1z1x player came in and just did some damage.
It was pretty nuts. I feel like this map ended up being it's really kind of all over the place. It's kind of messy in a lot of ways. I like that Mecatol did not end up becoming a graveyard, but it did clearly favor some factions had clearly better slices. In particular, I would say green Saar slice was good enough to where I just wrote in my notes that day, green has a crazy good slice.
Yeah.
And especially for Saar, he's got what, 5 planets?
5 planets adjacent, and then another one equidistant.
Equidistant
and
on
a
the other side of
pathway
it.
into Barony's slice, like a clear path to just swallow up Barony. Now, Barony's a tough one to do that against. It's convenient that it's Barony and not someone like with a weaker start.
Right.
Barony can kind of keep up economically with Saar in the beginning. So that's a little bit of a fear, but I think generally speaking, Saar has a really clear avenue to where if they decided to just swallow Barony up, they could push and maybe make that happen.
Yeah. I would say in general, though, it feels like a majority of the high-value systems are between purple and red slices.
Right.
Which is kind of rough for everybody else. Black, in general, it looks like Black's doing okay, but if you take a good look at Black Slice, it is not great. I remember noticing that at the time. So I would say, who would you say came out the best in this competitive build?
Well, I remember liking the Hacan placed the Supernova like next to themselves, clearly setting up for a defensive position, and they got Aaron and Mir. I liked Hakan's map build for what Hacan specifically needs.
Right.
Putting a wall between them and someone else, getting influence so that they won't run out of that, and then being able to set up. There's a lot of wealth between them and their other neighbor, so if Hacan wants to treat them kindly and make deals and have them be their main trading partner, there's actually some good reason for that to happen. There's a lot of room for that to go down.
Right.
The first
What
two
are
objectives are spend 3 command counters and 3 tech specialty planets.
And I remember being really bummed about the 3 command counter one because
It always makes for a slow round one.
Yeah,
a sad slow round
it's
one.
a bummer when that comes out early. I don't hate that objective. I know some people really don't like that one, but for it to come out round 1 from a game that we are like so hotly anticipating, it was a little like, oh, I hope this doesn't end up being a really slow slog,
Yeah.
which it is not overall.
No.
But yeah.
So we're starting to pick strategy cards now, and Saar is the speaker, which is the worst thing in the world for this table. This is the other reason Saar is in an amazing position starting out. Saar gets Warfare with their good system start. I mean, there's a lot that Saar can do. Now, he's got a few options. There's the spread super thin and just get every single planet imaginable, or there's the, like, go straight gung-ho for Mecatol Rex, or there's the go straight gung-ho into your neighbor.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what he ends up picking Warfare is what he goes with. And then, yeah, there's this really great moment here where L1 is, like, wanting to take tech. You can literally see him right now being like, I want to take tech, but the victory point for... Yep, he's checking the VP right now. He doesn't have the influence is the problem. His slice does not have enough influence for him to be able to accomplish that VP.
Kind of ever. I mean,
yeah,
it's like he's going to always be command counter starved this whole game.
It sucks. This moment is so rough because already he's having to make like a super difficult choice, and he wants to just take tech and play a fun L1, and he ends up taking leadership, which it's
the smart decision, but it's the sad.
But
yeah.
and then
Soul
tech
gets to get
tossed down. Hacan does something really funny. I'm not seeing it just yet, but Hacan takes construction round 1, which I'm actually starting to see a lot more of lately in general. But a consequence of that is I just feel like it helps solve your problems, but I almost thought that at this point in the game, politics would have maybe been a better pick.
I think so, and letting Naalu get politics was a little bit
because
sad.
like it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you'll see kind of how the game as the game shakes out, but the speaker token movement does get kind of travel along a very specific quadrant, and sometimes doesn't really really go as far as you would like, or just like I felt like we weren't seeing a lot of movement of it.
Yeah. And here's our first action of the game. We see Naalu obviously taking Baragler to 4. This first round is going to be a lot of just expanding, everyone taking the most obvious planets in their slice.
Yeah, L1 is kind of already, if you kind of look at his body language, he's already realizing like that he's got kind of a tough slice, which was kind of a bummer for me because I really, I was a big fan of L1's play style. Look at the way he tossed that. Whatever, there they go, bam.
So we've seen 2 players opt to not go towards the center. Barony doesn't have a choice, but Hacan went for Abiz Freya instead of Aaron Namir first. I think their goal was to start setting up trade relationships with Naalu right away. This player played Jolnar in his first game and was super diplomatic in that game. And I went into this one expecting him to be just as diplomatic.
He does some really smart diplomacy even in
Yeah.
the first round.
Yeah.
We will see some of that coming up. I was excited for Barony round 1 trade. Like Barony was last to pick and still got stuck with trade, which I thought was like a really
lot
good
of money
deal for them.
Yeah.
For being last,
Right.
Like for being last and then getting to go likely second.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't want to give it away, but in his head right now, you've got to be thinking like, oh, this is not a bad start for me at all. So look, that's about a full round of just basic expansion. Who do you think has the worst slice?
Oh, Lizix for sure. L1z1 slice. I mean, Barony's is annoying. Barony's is super annoying. But he's Barony, so I'm kind of like in that situation. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty awful funnel on Barony's right side, having to go between a gravity rift and an asteroid field to only have 2 blank spaces on the way.
Yeah.
Like you've got Wormhole sitting there, and then on your left is Saar. So that's really, really tricky. But I do think L1 slice is even more just barren of anything. I mean, he's got 4 planets to his name.
Oh, so this is what I wanted to call out. So Hacan does some great bargaining for the speaker token and gets it. And the way he bargains for it is really interesting. It's basically just him being like, I'm just going to take... I think he just says he's going to take construction.
Yeah, he wants speaker so that he can definitely get construction. And Naalu's like, well, that doesn't... I definitely don't want construction.
Right.
So I'm cool with that.
I remember since, like, I had actually never seen someone bargain for a speaker token that simply. I think in our group, we see a lot of, like, people coming in really hot and heavy for the speaker token. But his play was so simple that I was just like, oh, this is genius.
Yeah. And the other part of that offer, I think, was just them being trade partners. It was just like, let's keep the peace. You let me get speaker, I'll take construction. Construction isn't offensive towards you, so let's keep this easy and breezy.
Right. There's a really good quote when that moment happens that we probably don't really have. So I'll just tell you. He says he says to Naalu whenever they negotiate this speaker token trade, he goes, "We can have a friendly game." I remember just being like, "Wow, okay, here we go." But I do think some early construction pick in Hacan, like at the time, I actually didn't know what he was doing, and I didn't really love this. But now I've kind of come around on it. I think it's...
He's just fortifying his stuff, right? I mean, it's all about just like, I'm not going to be an enemy. I'm going to stockpile my money until I can strike out with everything all at once.
And I think what it can cause... I'm not sure that's how it plays out today, but what it can cause to happen is for Hacan not to get that super early lead with trade goods, and so they can still do some trading in the middle if they decide to take trade later.
Right.
But,
so we see Saar move out with their Saar ball, and he's clearly... Now, he hasn't warfared anything yet, but his options for how to like do the crazy wide split are quickly getting limited into the number of spaces he can go.
Right, but he's trying to play off of construction secondary, which I think is going to work out for him.
Yeah.
I wanted to say back when we were talking about slices, I actually think the worst slice is Soul's.
Oh,
and it's
true.
Because Soul really is hurt by this a lot. And
yeah, specifically Soul needs a highway to somewhere, and he's got... I mean, look at that wall.
Yeah.
The Nebula Supernova. So that Supernova was able to get played by Hacan because it was the last tile left. And that means, like, Hacan is 100% protected from Soul. There's just, like, nothing Soul can do about it, really.
Right.
So Soul's only other direction is Lizix, which Lizix also has a bad slice. So Soul's options for the type of game Soul wants to have been drastically, like, completely cut off.
And look at what the already you can just kind of see L1 and Soul are like they kind of their body language is a little more like this is rough because they're not having a great start. They don't have great slices. Oh, this is construction time, which is just perfectly timed for. You can even see him taking the secondary right there, just like, yep, here we go. What did he get? He gets a PDS, two PDS
on his outward systems.
Yeah, which is interesting. I thought for sure also when I wrote it down right here. No space dock. I thought he was going for more production in his home system
on a biz.
But the thing is, he knows he's going to get it next round. So
right.
Maybe it's all
settle
okay.
the defenses first and then.
But so Saar got to have the run of throwing his.
But this is where I think it's strange because he puts his space dock in his second. He doesn't put a space dock on the same system as his other space dock. Which, if he did, he would be able to unlock it and have a space dock to go one direction, a space dock to go to a second direction, and a carrier to go a third direction.
I just don't think he needs to go that many directions.
No, he doesn't have enough planets near him to really. I think that's where he makes that choice is to just, you know what, I'm not actually going to go that many directions.
Yeah.
And it's wise to have a space dock there adjacent to Barony because that's probably going to pop off.
One thing I want to say about trade that was funny to me.
Barony and Saar traded.
Like Barony refreshes a lot of players for basically no reason. Which
he
is
refreshed everybody.
He refreshed every single
player? He refreshes every player.
Which maybe going into this hot of a game, he's maybe just thinking like, I just want maybe some goodwill so the mid game might smooth over.
And we're already seeing also a ceasefire Barony's handing a ceasefire to Saar, and I think Saar is doing the same. It's a ceasefire trade and a 2 trade good trade.
Do we know that it was trading ceasefires?
I'm fairly certain it was ceasefires.
Wow, that's crazy.
I think it was a ceasefire for a ceasefire and 2 trade goods for 2 trade goods.
Yeah.
And then here goes the warfare pull for that outwardmost system for Saar.
One thing that I think is really interesting is that I would say the 2 richest factions in this game, purple and red, slice-wise and just like, mostly slice-wise. Yeah, potential-wise. They stayed very cozy.
Yeah.
Hacan did not trade with Soul. Hacan very much blocked Soul out of this. Soul at one point tries to get a 3-for-3 with Hacan, and Hacan just straight up denies it. One thing, I don't want to do too much rethinking for these players, but one thing I think maybe should have happened really early was a Soul L1, like complete, like, we're just cool and we're going to help each other
Either
get
of us
into
can
the
afford
mid-game.
Yeah, I agree.
Almost even support trades, I don't think would have been out of the question.
Look at how crazy this purple-red area looks. It is almost a perfect triangle of all planets between them.
Yeah.
There's only one space in the entire triangle that from their home systems to Mecatol to the other one's home system, there's only one system that doesn't have a planet
Which
on
it's smart that Hacan is investing so early then in PDS to just be like, listen, like, I'm going to be a difficult target. You're going to want to just let me have the stuff that I have and leave me alone, basically.
Yeah.
No, I think this is it. This is where they're Blue's trying to bargain with Hacan. Blue's basically like, hey, let's
do some
trading. I don't know why Blue isn't just cozying up to L1. It probably is because L1 only has 2. And
he's trying to get his money's worth.
He's trying to get his money's worth, which is rough. And then there you go. See that it's denied. It does not end up happening. Which Hacan is just, I think, really smart, like meta-wise, is just kind of like, well, like, I have no reason to be your friend, and as long as I don't help you, you're probably gonna have a really rough game. So.
Yeah. So we've seen tech pop now, and where everyone's getting their tech. We see Soul get Gravity Drive, which is huge for Soul.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
L1 gets Sarween tools. Saar gets Sarween tools. So some kind of just basic economic stuff. Lizik's kind of hinting at maybe going down a yellow path for inheritance systems. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we see that pan out, but that's kind of the first move for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really, because this was more when the L1 episode was pretty fresh on my mind, and I was really excited to see somebody going for inheritance systems after all that guff I got.
After the Soul move, Naalu and L1 have both already passed. They are done for the round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which L1
Which, at
has
this-
left themselves able to get the point, and they are the only ones so far with enough command counters to get that point.
Right. Well, none of the other ones are going for it. But what's such a bummer is to this early not getting to invest in the future rounds, and basically L1 just being like, I just got to flip this strategy card so I can get the VP, and that's basically it. I mean, they haven't even.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a plan going
Right,
forward at all.
right.
He got his 1 point, and it's kind of hard to
Just
know where to
look
go
at
from
the
here.
lack of plastic that he has compared to. I mean, it's basically like blue and black just look really
Yep.
meager, and then yellow's really filled out, purple's really filled out. Purple hasn't even fully expanded yet, which I don't even remember. I don't remember why that's the case, but maybe it was a timing issue. Oh, I remember. Naalu had to activate their home system to build.
Yeah, so he's locked down anyways. And so there we just saw, this is an interesting play to me. Barony moves a huge fleet into the asteroid field. Just like no other option if he's going to go for Mecatol or anything. He just knows he's got to get the fleet out there, so he just parks it in the asteroid field, even though that asteroid field is mostly surrounded by junk.
Yeah, I'm gonna, because of all of the skilled retreat hijinks that we've been seeing lately, what Baron, I didn't notice this at the time, but now I feel like when I see this, I'm like, no, with the bullet. I would have been really concerned that green was going to skilled retreat into the home system type thing.
Right. So this is Saar taking the equidistant planet. This is the first kind of what I would call aggressive move from really anyone on the table. Taking, it's just a small, it's what, Tarman or something, or Thiba, but the only equidistant move so far.
Yeah, I mean, it contrasted with like Naalu, that like really very, very slow opening from Naalu. But
Yeah.
I actually think it's kind of interesting the way Naalu's kind of like, I'm gonna hang back. I've got Barrigan Lurda 4 for next round. That's gonna be enough to stay competitive with a lot of these people's slices.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna over expand. I'm gonna keep my stuff really focused.
You just saw an action card played by Sol. That was a war effort to place one cruiser in a system. So that's just a little small thing for Sol. And then this is Saar expanding to the last possible planet he can expand to. So Saar got every planet he needed to get. This is more of the, oh man, we're gonna watch this Saar run away with it. That's what was going on in my mind.
Oh, for sure. What I really liked about the way that he played his first round is that his space docks are poised on either side. So
Yeah.
he is currently a little bit threatening to L1 or Barony. They
Right.
both kind of are looking at him like, what is about to happen? I honestly think L1 is probably the better target at this point. Like if I
Yeah.
was playing a Saar, I would be like,
Well, it'd
I
just
need
be
to
so
put
much more
pressure on-
devastating
Right.
for L1.
Right.
Barony, you're gonna have to fight and fight and fight, and it may never work out.
And he's building right now, and he kind of doubles down a little bit on because he's now got a bigger fleet on that side.
Yeah. And in addition to Sol's war effort, he builds 2 cruisers right now in his home system as his final action.
Yeah. Round one, what do we think in general? Kind of Bucks. There's some traditional obvious stuff that does not happen the way you just normally see. I feel like Hacan's play was really interesting this round. I feel like Naalu's play was really interesting. There's a lot of kind of weird choices you don't see a lot. Saar, I feel like, had a great opening, a kind of typical opening of like Saar got warfare, and super expanded. Already things seem a little bit bleak for L1 and Sol.
Yeah. It's funny that things are bleak for L1 because here's L1 scoring the only point for the round.
Right, that's
so
true,
taking a
but
lead, but proof is in the
At
pudding.
a cost.
Yeah.
At a cost.
And the new objective that gets revealed: spend 5 trade goods.
Spend 5 trade goods.
The other thing to note, I think, like you were saying, strange plays. I mean, we just saw Sol do like a basic expansion. He didn't really gun for anything. He built a bunch of cruisers, which I think is kind of strange for Sol.
Yeah. Ooh, and Summit coming out. First opportunity. Very cool. So Hacan did stay true to their word.
Yep.
Their diplomatic relationship between red and purple is very, like, it's very good. It's really the kind of that classic type of Twilight Imperium game where it's like these two are playing very nice, and
Yeah.
it's very helpful to the two of them. Purple and yellow are kind of like their diplomatic relationship kind of is a little more rocky.
But they also have this really awkward border of all empties and a gravity rift. We see Naalu take Warfare, which is huge for them, having a really slow round 1. Clearly, they're investing their time in making up for lost time in round 1 to do some work in round 2.
Oh, and there's something that happens in this strategy phase that made me so livid, and I'm still upset about it. And I wonder if you can catch it, actually. I wonder if you see what makes me so mad that is about to happen.
It's a weird,
so the
it's a
trade
weird
VP
Imperial
came
pick.
out. No. The
trade good VP, and he could have taken trade, and nobody took trade.
I'm not necessarily putting that on Soul. He's definitely looking at that being like, I got to make a crazy play. I've got a horrible start. But the fact that none of them picked trade.
Yeah, right after trade goods comes out.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point, I remember being like, I wrote it in big letters, trade not picked. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're all looking at the Doritos one. They're just like, we're going to have, or not the Doritos one, sorry, I'm using some old silly parlance, but the command counter one. And being like, I guess we're going to do that, so we're just going to have a slow game regardless.
And we see Naalu move out with Warfare adjacent to Mecatol Rex. So Naalu in a position to potentially take a Mecatol Rex this round.
Naalu doesn't have the influence, though. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. Actually, I might be wrong about that.
I think you're wrong. Because they've got Beargler to 4. They'd be spending a lot of money
stuff
to take it. But.
Well, how much influence is Beargler to 4 worth? I thought it was only worth like 2. Or 1, even.
No, it's more than that.
Okay.
We see Saar pop leadership right away. Already command counter star. I've got to fix that. I'm not sure where Saar goes from here. I don't know what's going through his head. But, like, he's got everything he needs to get. So now it's, like, time to make some play. I mean, Saar is already in a position where it's like, you got to do something. You can't just sit. So I remember being a bit nervous.
Well, Saar had lowered their fleet pool. Gets it back up to 3 right here. So there's some sort of bargain going on right now. What is this?
L1 is messing with the speaker. He was kind of offering some speaker token stuff, but he decides to keep it. And then Saar buys some action cards.
So Saar's going to actually try and buy speaker from him.
Yeah.
Right now. Which I'm telling you, that was like the theme of this game, was there was more speaker bargaining.
Yeah.
See, this is more, though,
what was crazy,
speaker bargaining
what we saw
for
before
us.
was L1 offering it to Soul. L1 was saying, how much is this worth to you? Mm-hmm. But of course, it's not worth enough for what L1 needs to get in return for
I just
going
think
last.
L1 was trying to get a support for the throne.
Yeah, I think he was.
Because you can really tell that he knows he's in trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, Saar does not end up bargaining for that speaker token, and is now going to have to pick last.
Hacan just does some moving out, pushes into RNM Mir, just reinforcing their slice. Again, Hacan not doing anything threatening to really anyone, but just building up for a strong mid to late game.
All prep work.
Yeah, all prep work.
But they don't have the thing that's frustrating is, as far as I can tell, they do have enough Doritos to accomplish.
Yeah, and Aaron Amir helps them score 2 more.
That's yeah.
So here's tech from the Barony player. Barony does double tech. They get Sarween, Tools, and Gravity Drive, which puts them in position to also take Mecatol Rex.
Right.
L1 has a yellow skip, and guess what? Inheritance Systems round 2
Very
out
cool.
of the Lizics.
Very cool.
And Soul gets Carrier 2. Hacan gets Plasma Scoring to boost these.
Right. He's doubling down on the PDS.
Naalu gets anti-mass deflectors, now in range for Fighter 2. And Saar skips to Space Dock 2 with his yellow skip. So
Actually,
a big tech round. This is a huge tech round.
I remember the next time I played Hacan after watching this guy, I was like, I'm going to do PDS Hacan. And it didn't work out that well for me. It worked out a lot better for him in this game, but it was not so good for me. It's just a bad tech path. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So at this point, it looks like Purple is going to Warfare to Mecatol. But I remember at the time thinking...
Barony is also in range with Gravity Drive from the asteroid field.
Oh, true.
But those are the only two that are really in range.
That really have a shot.
And here's
at it.
Sol moving next door, but with no warfare, there's not really any other options unless we see an unexpected
Now,
action
what's
come
a
out.
bummer is that they had just bought Carrier 2, and with Gravity Drive could have gotten those dudes.
Oh,
there.
you know
And
what? You're right. I think they just didn't have the influence.
Oh, yeah.
They spent a
probably
lot to get the tech, so they have nothing left, and they have such a bad slice. There wasn't enough influence.
See,
to take
that
Mecatol.
right there is just like
Tragic.
that's a bad slice right there. Because if Sol could have got in underneath that, this would have been a completely different game. Completely different.
And Naalu just does the warfare, pulls that token adjacent to Mecatol Rex, so we're even closer to seeing what's going to happen near Mecatol.
I mean, spoilers. I think Purple's got this, but Barony maybe could oppose, but probably can't get enough there. Really, Naalu's got a pretty sizable fleet right there, and it is Naalu. So even if for some reason they, aren't gonna win, then they'll probably just retreat. I just realized for L1, I feel like the plan from here could be, since they have inheritance systems, they could potentially grab tech and research 2 unit upgrades with IS, correct?
You exhaust IS to
correct.
use
So you can only use it once. But let's see, they've got.
But they have 2 yellow, so they could get Space Dock 2
Yeah.
and anything else they want to get.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out how scary Barony's slice is looking. He just built another Dreadnought and 2 more ground forces in his home system. He's sitting pretty.
I think it's an advantage that Barony has that doesn't get brought up a lot because of our cooperative build. But in a competitive map build, the fact that your home system is so great is more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're
you rely
guaranteed
on
more.
it. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. This
First
is
fight.
the first blood right here.
Saar is invading the L1z1x adjacent to their home system. It's a destroyer and 3 fighters versus a dreadnought in the space combat. Looks like they're trying to kind of make a deal over like what is going to happen with it.
Mm-hmm. What is he trying to get at this point? I'm not really sure. So this is rough. This is a L1 dreadnought basically caught.
Unawares.
Yeah, with no. However, I will point out this: Saar has not left a way for himself to retreat.
Right. So if things
and I
go
believe
sour-
that L1 fleet in the home system is unactivated because I believe they were made off of the secondary of warfare.
Yeah.
So here we go, first fight.
And L1 did declare a retreat, so they're going to roll 1 round of combat. But if he survives, the dreadnought will escape.
1 hit, looks like it's going to leave. 1
So
and 1.
takes a fighter with him. We don't see a direct hit
No
come
direct
out,
hit.
and he heads not home.
Of course.
He heads to the
He
other
heads to the
adjacent
right place.
space. Yeah. And leaves the ground forces behind to defend.
Yeah, so it looks like Saar is just going for one of those planets. Wow.
And wins the 2v1. And of course, the scariest part of this is that the space dock is there, so Saar is now going to build adjacent to L1's home system.
Which is not great. All he has to do is build a fleet, I would say, evenly matched with the fleet in L1's home
Yeah.
system. And that might be enough to be like, well,
Right. And L1's turn is immediately next.
mhm.
So we see a carrier, 2 fighters, and 2 ground forces come out for Saar. So clearly reinforcing the planet. Not much L1's going to be able to do on that front, but just a carrier and 2 fighters in space might be enough for L1 to attack back.
Yeah, it'll be a close call. I suspect that L1 doesn't have the hits for it. Doesn't have enough damage they can take.
That's funny. Saar asking how many action cards L1 has. So what's about to happen has a lot to do with those action cards. So L1's turn is up. He's just been gutted. He needs to do something, and he needs to do something big. He can either push with everything in this big fleet, but instead he activates adjacent to Saar's home system in his scarcely defended fleet, plays a flank speed, but just as luck would have it, Saar's got the sabotage, which
That's a costly sabotage.
costly
That's a early
sabotage, but completely negates Lizix's options to do anything. He can't
L1
send anything.
has had such a rough game
So
thus
L1
far.
just burned a command counter for effectively nothing. Clearly disappointed too. It's a rough go.
That's yeah. The odds that Saar would have already drawn sabotage. That's
And Hacan plays construction, and of course Saar is going to take advantage of that, and so is Sol. We see the third space dock come out for Saar. Kind of a naked Saar dock sitting out there, a little bit dangerous,
scary.
but not really bunny in striking distance, so not the worst
Barony
thing
would
in the
have
world.
to silence the space
Right.
to it, basically.
Right.
So it is safe for now, but we'll see. So I don't get when Barony does this. I actually don't get why. I don't get why Barony did not run. I mean, maybe they didn't have the influence to take Mecatol Rex.
No, I don't think they do because they spent. I mean, they did buy 2 tech earlier, and they built that dreadnought this round, I believe.
So they've amassed just this huge fleet right by Mecatol Rex.
What Barony
It's
is
not
saying
gonna
is,
get
I'm not taking Mecatol first, but I'm telling you I'll take it second. That's the way I look at this.
Yeah.
Is he's saying, yeah, Naalu's going to get the custodian point, but I'm going to take and keep Mecatol Rex later on.
Also, it's kind of frightening how open he has left his home system at this point.
It's true. That's a big gap.
But the other thing is that fleet is, I mean, that's the biggest fleet basically on the board right now, is that Barony fleet.
Yeah. That's 3 dreadnoughts, a carrier, and a destroyer.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
So Sol plays Imperial, claims 3 command counters objective, and we see a bunch of secret objectives get handed out.
I am confused about why they took Imperial because they're not going to be able to use it. They would have gotten to claim that public objective anyways. Maybe they just want the free secret. Maybe that might be smart.
And here goes
And here we go.
Naalu with
So
the Mecatol
so
Rex
purple
take.
take Mex Rex right now.
He spends
and at
2
this
of his
point-
planets, and he spends 1 trade good to take it. That's how he pays for it.
Yeah. At this point, it's looking like there's going to be some issues between yellow and purple.
Yeah.
Especially with just how undefended purple is right now with that lone space dock, that juicy space dock just right there. But Barony has already committed their forces. I don't know.
Right. They're locked down for this round.
He just couldn't get enough there. He could only get 1 dreadnought, and that would have made a difference.
So Saar takes an interesting move to bring a bunch of stuff over to kind of start backing up this fight against L1. Partly just to gum up those works a little bit, but also there for some retreat possibilities, giving him somewhere to go to. Also, it's an asteroid field, so if he parks here, he's safe. I mean, he doesn't have chaos mapping yet, but he's not far from getting it.
Right.
And once he has that, it'll be, it could be basically lights out for L1 with a fleet like that sitting right next to your home.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this game was never L1's game. It just always looked bad for them. Barony fleet is really scary right now. Naalu has Mecatol Rex, but I would not say that fleet looks like...
No, I mean, that
keep
Barony
it.
fleet will certainly crush it. And with 3 bombardment, even the 2 ground forces on the planet are not enough.
Pretty much doomed. I feel like Hacan is now kind of eyeing the territory, being like, well, purple has expanded all the way to Mecatol Rex. I can probably push this a little bit farther, I feel like. Purple finally expanding. Filling out the rest of their slice. They seem like they have not built enough compared to these other factions, which is crazy. It's crazy how thin they are spread currently.
Everyone else has focused less on victory points and more on establishing a footprint, and Naalu seems to be the only one who's like trying to set themselves up for victory points. But I don't know. It's led them to be very, very stretched thin. I mean, look at that.
If Barony had... There was an opening there. I'm actually not sure that Barony had a turn, so I don't want to be certain. But there was a point there where
Barony passed. Yeah.
Barony passed. I see.
But yeah, that Barony carrier could have gravity rifted,
Could have landed there, and
or
just,
with gravity drive gone to the other space dock. They could have done some damage.
Yeah, there was a moment there where Naalu was very, very open. Which, hindsight's 2020. We're not trying to do too much double thinking for these guys. They were playing an actual game. And we are not. We are just sitting cozy, looking at it afterwards.
So Saar claims points first. They actually have 3 space docks on the board, secret objective, which is a hugely lucky pull for Saar.
Yeah.
So another reason to just think, oh my gosh, Saar has this in the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's going right for Saar so far.
Saar's playing a great game, but you're like, there are some known issues already. There's the Barony fleet. What is going to happen with that? It doesn't look like Saar currently has an answer to that fleet really on any level. Saar is committed, I think possibly a little too early, to attacking a neighbor. So there seems to be, I feel like even at this point, there was a little bit of risk in my head for Saar.
Yeah.
L1's not looking great. Not a lot of scoring that
Nope.
round.
We see Saar at 2 points, Naalu, Sol, and L1 at 1 point, and Hacan and Barony are scoreless.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only point scored in that, or the only points scored in that round was all by green. Just the 2 points they took.
And so they're all refreshing their stuff, but we will be going to our first agenda phase, a round 2 agenda phase.
Oh, yes. Saar does a lot of all over the table negotiations. Some of them fail, some of them succeed. It was actually legitimately hard to keep track of how much negotiating he was trying to do. I don't even remember what this is for. He's bargaining something.
I think mostly what Saar is doing here is just coming to market. He's got an action card, he's got a promissory note he's willing to sell. He really just wants to know what Hacan has. They're across the board from each other. So I think he's just trying to see if they can establish some sort of trading relationship based on action cards that he needs to make big plays.
I think this is really smart because, like we were just saying, things look a little perilous or a little dangerous for Saar going into round 3. He has angered both of his neighbors. Seem kind of poised to strike. So it is really smart for him to go all the way across the table and be like, "Well, hey, what's up with you? Can we talk here?" But yeah, we're about to do this first agenda phase.
First agenda is Swords to Plowshares. This is the one where if you do the 4, everyone loses ground forces on a planet, but you gain trade goods equal to the number of ground forces lost, so you basically make money back. But the alternative is to gain a ground force on like every planet you control. It's basically a Rise of the Messiah.
Right.
Which for Saar, against would be huge. Saar is stretched all over the place, and if he could get a bunch of ground forces down on those planets, he's very reinforced.
Right. So I think green and red negotiated something already, and we're going to see their negotiation come. Purple says something really funny coming up here where he goes, he says, I'm trying to get bribed, he says.
Well, and Saar says he could go either way, which is valid in that's how this one always goes. It's like, man, I could just make a bunch of money.
Right.
You know, two ground forces, two trade goods is not the worst thing in the world, but for as stretched thin as he is, I know I certainly would prefer.
I think it's just hard to know.
Yeah.
I think there is an answer. It's just hard to know for sure what is the right way to go on this one most of the time. I think honestly Naalu probably does not want this. It's funny that Purple is the one that says that they're trying to be bribed, because honestly I would hate to lose my infantry on Mecatol Rex right now, or have to lose even a single one. I think would be strategically not great. But Naalu might not be thinking that they're going to get to keep Mecatol anyways. Oh, also we missed the new VP, which was spend a influence, which is obviously going to be super easy for Purple to accomplish. So Purple does a really good job of working this agenda and getting something out of it. There it is right there. I'm trying to be bribed.
So Saar offers up his faction promissory note for Barony's votes, but Barony doesn't look especially interested in it.
You know, it's always kind of a weird one, that one. I think Saar should have bargained a little more intensely. I think Saar should have recognized that Purple was the one to bargain with.
But at the end of the day, he did already say as well that he's not that interested in it. And what is
so
more interesting
here we go. So
yeah.
Saar and Hacan trade support for the thrones, which is what they were talking about earlier.
Actually, Saar gives up a trade agreement, and Hacan gives up the support for the throne. So only Saar goes up a point.
Oh, wow. Oh, so that's what it was, is Saar had already promised their trade agreement to Hacan.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And this agenda goes 4, which means people are going to lose ground forces but gain a good amount of trade goods.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, it's that's a pretty brutal first one. I feel like I've seen that one come up first several times, and every time it's like, I I think you lose more by losing the infantry, frankly.
I do
mean,
too.
I think
It's good to get a lot of money, but that money takes time to turn it back into infantry that you had spread out.
Yeah. Honestly, this hurt Saar the most, but this hurt everybody a little bit, including Purple, including Naalu.
And the beautiful irony is that our second agenda is economic equality.
This is awful that this happened.
Everyone will lose their trade goods and either be set at 5 or lose all their trade goods altogether, which means all the trade goods everybody just gained are completely meaningless.
So this is a horrible agenda phase for Saar, basically. It's very, very
he
bad.
lost a lot.
So at first they're all kind of assuming that it's going to go 4, which is essentially going to guarantee everyone a VP. But at this point, I was kind of like, well, this game's kind of been moving a little slow. Maybe they will go for that. Maybe they will be like, let's move it along a little. So Saar's trying to bribe the veto, but he's the only one that has anything to gain by vetoing it. So essentially, this is that best type of agenda where really only 2 people need to agree, but they do need to agree.
Yeah, and I think this one too is where Saar's going to get in trouble because of voting order. Seoul has been kind of adamantly just like Seoul wants to vote against. They've got 8 votes, and they want to get paid not to vote against. Now, the problem is they're like the first person to vote, and it's always hard to pay the first person that you're trying to bribe.
Right, because you don't want to pay somebody and then...
Saar is more worried about Naalu and Barony paying them off to get their votes, so he kind of has to let the Seoul votes happen and hope for more luck later down the road.
Saar is having so much trouble negotiating with Naalu in general. Naalu is very, very friendly with Barony and Hacan. Well, definitely Hacan. Barony a little less so, but yeah, Saar is kind of falling victim, I feel like, to that early lead kind of leader bashing stuff that people like, that it's kind of common with Saar. There's a lot of meta against him right now. Lots. He's also the only one that's really attacked anyone else.
Right. So Hacan did 8 against. Naalu's kind of already decided it's over. Votes 10 against, and it's over at this point.
Done. So Saar loses basically all of their infantry, and then has to give up all of the trade goods.
Right.
So their trade good lead that they got. What a horrible 1-2 punch for Saar.
Yep.
Pretty rough. Pretty rough for them.
Again, if Saar had pushed more, I think gaining the ground forces would have been a better play anyways.
I think so, too.
And I think if he
but
pushed for
he
that...
had no way of knowing.
Right. No, there's no way you know the second agenda is going to come out that way, but L1 takes trade.
L1 takes trade, going after that
5 trade
point.
goods. Another situation where it's kind of the only thing he can do.
Right.
I mean, he can hope to trade with
Saar
or Seoul.
This is just like that situation in round 1, where he's literally taking a strategy card just to do a VP.
Right.
That's it.
That'll be his only action this turn, basically. If he can, his other action will be just trying to get some ground back.
Oh, okay, so it's Seoul that takes tech.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've got this situation where Naalu is about to get Imperial.
Yeah.
And it gets missed.
Yeah. Hacan takes leadership, and Naalu just easily insta-takes Imperial, obviously.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah. Nobody vocalizing that enough to push against it.
Yeah. And what? So we've got Barony with...
Warfare.
And, of course, Saar is... I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you. Saar's going to take politics because... Yeah.
Because it's the right choice.
But yeah, so wild.
What's disgusting about this too is it's Naalu.
It's Naalu, so there's nothing. They're done. It's already happened.
And right now he's doing Imperial and he's getting the points. He's done.
That's it.
He spends 8 influence.
So purple is now at 3.
He gets a Mecatol point. Yep, moves
into
up
the
to
pack.
3.
Into the pack, basically. But I mean, this isn't looking great. This is looking like they're not going to get to keep. I mean, I could maybe see them making an argument like, if we're going to let him get Imp, it's now. We let him get Imp now.
Right, and then we never let it happen again.
Right, because I think at this point my prediction would have been like, well, Barony is about to crush him, basically. I remember being really interested to see what Hacan was going to do this round with leadership. They were about to be able to get so far ahead in command counters.
Right, sitting on Aaron Amir, no need to go for Mecatol.
So much potential in that.
And he go ahead and finally takes basically the only other equidistant planet in the game,
right.
Lodor. So Hacan finally taking a little bit of aggressive action towards Naalu. Now, I don't doubt that there's probably a deal. I've been a handshake deal between them.
It looks like they're literally exchanging
Yeah.
something right now. So they're exchanging something. I bet it's ceasefires.
Probably ceasefires. I think they're both players that are interested in just letting. I mean, basically this protects Naalu on Mecatol Rex. He's like, yeah, okay, you take Lodor, you get that 3-1. This does two things. A, it protects me from that alpha wormhole because anybody has to go through you
That's true.
to get to my stuff. And B, us having the ceasefires means you're not going to be one of the people I have to worry about
Right.
on Mecatol or taking anything from me behind my Mecatol play. So I think this is a great give by Naalu, saying, no, you know what? I don't care about that Equidistant planet. I don't need to be that aggressive. I've already done my aggressive play. Let's make a partner in crime.
Yep. Naalu is so good at like being really friendly to the factions that they need to be friendly to, and with the people that they don't need that, they're just like whatever. Right? Like they play hardball when it suits them. It's great. So here we go. What is actually going to happen with this Saar fleet?
It has basically three options. It can jump on the home system where there's only one dreadnought and two fighters, and it could just ruin, absolutely crush L1z1x, basically knock them out of the game. But they'd be doing it with a carrier, 5 fighters, and a destroyer, which is enough. I mean, 6 fighters, that's plenty. But what does that get them? I don't know. The other option is to take Saudor and crush L1z1x's other main fleet and continue taking planets. And the third option is to take Vefut 2 and just kind of get ready to make some plays on Mecatol.
Yeah, I think that agenda phase was so devastating for Saar that they're just in a completely different place now. So like whatever plan Saar had before, this was not the imagined situation.
Right.
So now there's lots of.
And I think he's made a deal with L1z1x, actually. I think L1z1x is so desperate to just get territory back that Saar decides to push away from L1, take Vefut 2. So clearly a deal has been struck between the two of them.
Yeah.
Saar trying to be a little bit kind to L1, mostly because Saar himself has to tuck his tail between his legs, and he's in danger of losing a lot of stuff, a lot of the territory he spent time claiming. Barony could easily walk through and take a bunch
And
of
he's
it.
very wisely leaving that destroyer there to kind of ensure that there won't be any striking at his actual fleet.
Yeah. What Saar has set up really well here is a lot of retreat paths. There is at least one ship in every single system that Saar controls.
Yeah. We saw a lot of that in the first game that this player played in, of just like very smart retreating.
And after taking Vefut 2, he builds another carrier, 2 more ground forces, and 4 more fighters. So the fighter ball in this Saar ball is getting very huge.
Yeah.
I think he's already up to 10 fighters.
And he's recovering from that the infantry problem, but it's just they're all in one place now, which is I think kind of part of the eventual issue. Not that having one infantry on a planet is such a great defense that you can't stand to lose it.
But if he had gone 4, he could have had 2.
Right.
And that is a huge deal.
Yes.
And if anything, too, the more ground forces you have on Saar planets, the more valuable that Saar promissory note becomes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good strategy to boost up the amount of ground forces you have on each planet, because then people really don't want to fight through 2 or 3 ground forces. So you can offer that up and actually get some money for it.
Yeah, his faction promissory note is basically useless right now. Okay, looks like L1 is trying to negotiate something with Blue.
He offers Sol a trade agreement, and he wants...
Oh, he's trying to get the commodities that Blue
has
just
left
has
over.
sitting there.
Right. He doesn't want Sol to waste commodities before trade gets played, so he's saying, give me let's do the trade agreement so that you can do it, then you'll refresh again, and we'll do even more commodity trading.
This is really smart. Honestly, this is more like what they should have been doing from the beginning.
Right. Maximizing their money between each other.
Between the two of them, because they are just... They're not living in the greatest neighborhood.
So they go for it. He gives a trade good and his trade agreement for 4 commodities. Then flips trade. So he nets 7 trade goods. Immediately gets his trade agreement back. And Sol gets 3 total trade goods.
Purple wants a free refresh. I love Lizix's why. Just, yeah.
But clearly Naalu has a plan here. He wants this refresh very badly, and he's got something he's trying to do with it. It's not just one of those like, I just want to be able to make money somewhere.
He has a plan. He's a smart player, and he is a negotiator.
So Naalu does pay to refresh and is going to do something with him, which is super interesting to me. I mean, you never see people pay to refresh off a trade.
We are at that contentious point, you know? We are at that point where the players are looking at, they're trying to possibly avoid all-out war.
Yeah. Barony reveals to the table that they
have
have each other's ceasefires.
Yeah.
Barony tells them, and Soul's a player who really tries to control the table. The problem with this game is he was never in a position to do so, but he tries to meta the table a lot. And in this situation, he's like telling Barony, you need to pop that ceasefire right now. He basically instructs Barony to pop the ceasefire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, I think this game would have looked a lot different at Blue. If Blue had more of a fair slice, fair shake, I think Blue would have come off as a very different player.
Yeah.
Whereas they're really fighting an uphill battle. So much Saar hate, though, that like the meta is just clearly against him. After like such a devastating agenda phase too, it just feels like it's starting to get to that point where the table's just kind of talking about Saar as if Saar is the big bad, basically.
Which is sad because Naalu has just set themselves up in such a great position.
Right.
Now Naalu's got a weaker home system, but I mean, if you look at technically what would be Saar's home system, it's weak as well. But Naalu's not getting any heat, and they have the same deal with their neighbor.
Yeah.
There's a ceasefire trade between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
They have a offensive position. They took Mecatol, but they're not the ones getting talked about because Saar is the one making attacks.
Yeah. It's that like classic like kind of shadow negotiation like type of play.
Barony opts to build in his home system instead of popping a ceasefire. He builds a carrier, a cruiser, 2 ground forces, and 2 fighters.
He's clearly building that. That is clearly the type of fleet you build if you're ready to expand into somebody else's slice. He's basically just being like, I'm going to clean up that Saar business. We're going to go through that. And it's fair. Saar is a little bit thin here. And with L1 having such a rough game, Barony is just kind of the overall best aggressor.
Yeah.
And he's not really checked by anything. Naalu is too slippery, I think, for Barony to be like, well, like at this point, Barony could take Mecatol, but I'm not sure they see the point.
Yeah.
And at this point, with the assumption being that Saar is going to take a speaker token, Naalu is going to be picking second to last. So hopefully they will get Imperial blocked. I don't remember how it turns out, but hopefully they won't get that again. There's lots and lots and lots of talking happening at this point.
This is Soul's turn, and Soul is looking to make some business happen.
So much posturing and maneuvering at this point.
Soul ends up doing an orbital drop, but in the meantime, he makes a bunch of offers around the table. He does a 2-for-2 trade good trade with Hacan, just some extra money. But what's more important is he manages to pull off 2 rounds too late, I would say. L1 and Soul trade support for the thrones.
Yeah.
So they both bump up a point, but it's kind of, at this point, the damage has already been done to L1.
So at this point, L1 and Soul have traded supports, and Saar and Hacan, correct?
I believe so. So now, because of all the support for the throne trades, Naalu and Barony are the last 2 left. So they're now negotiating how they're going to go ahead and swap theirs, because they just can't. They can't be left out of these free points.
There's no point in not doing that at this point. God, and what a timely support trade for Naalu, though. Because now Barony cannot come down on Mecatol.
Right.
I don't know if I would have taken the deal had I been Barony.
I would have waited.
I think I would have been like, no, I'll take Mecatol first, and then we could trade.
But I think going through his head is like what you were saying before. He's actually more concerned about just taking all those empty Saar planets at this point.
That's true.
I think he's decided the Mecatol play isn't as good as the,
have
6 planets.
Yeah, and with Purple's support, he's basically guaranteed to not be backdoored at all. Oh, I see, and he's leaving Mecatol. So they must have negotiated that out.
Well, he debates it here. Barony says he's concerned about Soul taking Mecatol Rex.
Oh, wow, he convinces
and the
him
deal,
to stay.
Yeah. So because of the support for the throne trade, the 2 of them are kind of linked to each other, and so they're starting to work together. So Naalu's just kind of letting Barony dictate what he should do, but it's in an effort to kind of keep the peace with Barony in addition to the support for the
Now,
throne
I would have
trade.
been I would have grieved a little bit about that moment in general, because that was kind of a lay it, you play it blasphemy, basically.
Sure.
But it's smart what Barony does there, to convince Naalu to basically stay, to block Soul.
Right.
Because Soul definitely would have gotten in there, and then that would have been basically...
Really dangerous.
But at this point, it's hard to tell who's going to win out for Mecatol.
Yeah.
All right, so some more trading happening. Hacan bought a promissory note off of Saar. Hacan just doing like the having the best type of like, I'm friendly with everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to deal with me. Kind of like really fun game.
He's been like an open door too for people wanting to make offers. He's always willing to hear an offer, and that's good because it means people are never looking to attack him first. It's always like, well, if he's going to make me an offer, let me just talk to him first.
Right.
And that's a great meta position to be in. That's a great way to carry yourself as a player.
It's kind of been a weird round for Saar, obviously. Oh,
So Saar comes out with an action card Reactor Meltdown, which is great that Saar had it, because the worst thing for a Saar is to have it played against you. But they blow up the space dock that Soul just recently put adjacent to Mecatol Rex. So further quashing Soul's Mecatol dreams. Saar makes a pretty strong move against them.
yeah. And it's just kind of the only target, too, because Barony's only space dock is in their home system. So the only thing was Purple and Red's space docks outside of their home systems, or Blue's other one. And at this point, I feel like Saar isn't necessarily trying to anger Purple or Red,
Right.
so Blue just seems out. Also, Blue has kind of meted a lot against Saar.
Right.
So I feel like that's a direct response from that. Just kind of a like, hey,
Leave me alone.
leave me alone. This is kind of that round where like everybody is trying to still play nice, but there is just not going to be possible.
Yeah,
basically.
they're against each other now, and they need to turn. So here's Soul again, digging into Barony, saying, Barony, you're the one with the big fleet. You have to do something about Saar. He's not, even though he lost, I mean, probably even, again, in response to losing his space dock, he's like especially worried about what Saar's potential is, and he's saying, Barony, you have to attack him and pop that ceasefire.
Yeah.
Because we need you to start doing some damage to him, because he's going to run away with it if you don't. So Barony does activate a space dock and a fighter of Saar's, and Saar has to decide whether or not it's worth...
It's not a space dock, it's a carrier.
Did I say space dock? Sorry, yeah.
Carrier, fighter, and infantry.
Carrier, fighter, and infantry, and they do
And
opt
they-
to pop it. They don't want to lose it right now, so the ceasefire is gone from Saar, just as Soul orchestrated.
All right, so we are for sure going for tech. It looks like...
Soul finishes out his the perfect Soul thing, and he takes Daxiv and Infantry 2. Barony gets Dreadnought 2. Hacan finally gets PDS 2, which he's kind of been posturing for all game. Saar gets his Chaos Mapping, so he's now protected in those asteroid fields. And L1 jumps and grabs Hypermetabolism because he's just been starved, and he's, again, this is a good play from him, but in a way that is sad to see. It's
Right.
I have to do this. I need this.
I'm trying to catch up, not a I'm getting ahead type play. But that's, I mean, at this point, like, Black is not out,
No.
Like, the late game could shape up and be quite different, and I feel like that's what he's playing for, that's what he's hoping for, as far as this is concerned. Saar knows they're going to get attacked by a better fleet, so Saar might as well take the fight to them.
Right.
And also get more opportunities to retreat. Oh, very good. Saar using Chaos Mapping.
Chaos Map's a destroyer.
Oh,
to leave behind.
Very cool. That is so good.
Moves the fight away from the adjacent to Barony, so he's forcing Barony to come kind of further out of their shell than they want to come.
So good. I even wrote down my note right here. It was just green doing Chaos Mapping right.
So he took it with a space dock, a carrier, 1 ground force, and 1 fighter, and he builds 2 more ground forces, 4 more fighters, and 1 cruiser. So ends up having a pretty good fleet adjacent to Barony's home system.
Right. Pretty smart play from Saar, considering that they are basically outgunned. And I would say this kind of definitely was smart enough to even the odds there.
So L1 just plays an action card. It's Ghost Ship. He sets up a trade alliance with Naalu and Barony. He just pops a little destroyer over there in between them and kind of says, hey, I just want to be peaceful here. If you leave it there, no worries.
Right. Which they're probably
They have a support for the throne. There's no
yeah.
reason for them to go into that dead zone anyways.
Right.
So
I feel like the Saar play was so good that Barony's literally like, I'm not sure how I want to do this now.
Yeah.
Basically. Because now Barony could... Yeah.
He's kind of counting it out right now, deciding how many things he can get there, what that means for the fight, and if it's going to be worth taking Quan. I love that little tap, tap, tap.
Yeah.
Here we go.
He's really thinking about it.
So he drops it in Quan, and he's ready to bring the fight. So what he does is he brings 2 dreadnoughts, 2 fighters, 1 carrier, and 2 ground forces, which honestly is not quite enough ground forces to take the ground combat. He would need some lucky bombardment for that to become a favorable invasion combat, but he has enough to take out the space combat. It's still close though, even there.
I think Barony does the right thing though overall, which is being like, all right, well, I still want to be able to warfare, and you've made it where that I won't be able to do it to the maybe effectiveness that I wanted to, but I'm still going to take for my big fleet.
Yep.
And we're just going to play along a different line there. But so yeah, really great play from both of them. They're playing against each other very smartly.
And Saar declares a retreat. They've got an available system because they're a very smart Saar player.
Right.
He leaves an opening for himself to get out of there. But we got to do 1 round of combat, and there's a lot of dice that have to get rolled.
Right.
Looks like he's leaving 3 infantry on the
It does
planet.
look like it. That's what it looks like.
We got. Oh, I forgot to mention there's a destroyer in this fight as well, so there's going to be some anti-fighter barrage. Looks like he decides to not leave all 3.
No? Okay.
Back and forth.
No, he does. Oh, thank you. So he takes all 3.
Gives up Quan.
Which he didn't have before. So this ended up being... Otherwise, he would have likely lost 2 of his planets.
Yeah.
Now he's losing 1 system, basically.
Right. Only 1 hit on Saar's side. We tap a dreadnought. Saar loses 3 fighters and retreats into Raron. Casing Raron.
So Saar basically gets what they had coming to him at this point.
But like you said, not even in a way that actually counts as any losses.
Right.
But besides the 3 fighters, he lost a planet he never had in the first place. He forced Barony to.
Oh, I
to
do
just
think
jump
he
around.
messes up his fleet supply right here, and he's going to have to lose something else. Lots of anti-Saar meta in general, though.
Hacan builds at home, and then we see Saar pop politics.
I believe right now Saar is maybe trying to bargain with Barony to give Barony the speaker token. I feel like that basically breaks down to just like, no. Hacan is just very set up, but I'm not sure where
it goes.
What we're doing.
Yeah.
Like what's the next move? I remember feeling that way when we were there. Just like why is Hacan playing it so close to the chest, so slowly, just building up?
Yeah. And L1 has to pass, calling it early on this round. Just another sad, kind of weird, awkward round for L1.
Yeah.
Very limited options.
Really got messed up by the command counter economy is just kind of the story here. But L1 does have hypermetabolism now, so hopefully that will be shifting.
And Barony pulls the token adjacent to Saar's system, so obviously telegraphing what's to come.
I can't believe that Saar was not able to bargain him to stop for the speaker token or anything like that. Barony is just very much like, I want the double. I want a bigger slice. I want a giant slice.
Now what's interesting here is in all the moving around that Naalu has done, they've left a system open, and instead of leaving
Here goes
Mecatol
Sol.
open for Sol decides to jump on the system that Naalu left open. So kind of a yin and yang here for Naalu's decision making. I don't know what Sol does from here. This is stretched pretty thin for Sol, and he's surrounded by huge fleets, so it's not like this is gonna last.
Yeah, however,
I don't really like
Naalu doesn't have a lot of bombardment.
Right.
I think the likelihood. I think what Soul's thinking is like, I just need more territory.
Yeah.
No matter what that means. If I got an orbital drop to keep those planets, they're probably figuring that they can maybe get away with it. It looks like it's going to be tough, though, because actually Naalu does have some dreadnoughts right there.
Now, it does net them Torcan, which is a 0-3, so it could just also be an extra command counter for Soul next round.
Right.
And it's their third cultural planet. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're pushing for something like that, but I think this was a weak force to push this far away.
Yeah.
I'm nervous for Soul.
I agree.
But worth noting that chaos mapping from earlier leaves Saar another retreat available. So Saar has an out to keep just jumping away if they choose to use it.
Saar really looked ahead and saw how this was going to go down. Never great. Never going to be fun, a Barony just charging down on you like that. And I really, even at this point, don't even see how Saar is going to come back from this. But I also don't think that that's Saar's goal anymore.
No.
I think if I were Saar right now, the goal would be to slip by, to escape, not necessarily to
clash back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know why he's not taking the 2 ground forces, why he would have any of them stand together. That's 4 bombardment with plasma scoring, and 3 infantry there. He might have a parlay, though, I don't remember.
Saar does declare the retreat, so he takes the 2 hits, but the 2 carriers will get away. But that's all but 1 of his fighters left. So his huge fighter screen has been reduced by quite a lot just in all of these attacks that have been happening.
Very significantly. And I think his fleet supply is about to become an issue again.
And here comes the bombardment.
Yeah, just devastated him.
So Barony gets both planets, and this is the first actual loss for Saar. 2 planets down from where they were at the beginning of this round. Mm-hmm. Which
could have been 4
could have
planets
been worse,
easily.
Yeah.
Could have been 4 planets. So I think Saar just had a rough time. I mean, it was a Barony with warfare. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
That was kind of a very round 3.
Yeah,
you know?
Very much so. So we see some victory points come out here. Naalu takes the 3 command counters for their 5th point. Hacan takes the 3 command counters for their 1st point. L1z1x spends 5 trade goods, like we said. That was kind of their only thing they were going to do. That's their 3rd victory point. Soul has the 2 faction tech secret objective, so lucky draw for Soul. And in addition to 5 trade goods, they get up to 3 points. So at the end of this status phase, we're looking at Naalu at 5, Soul at 4, L1 and Saar at 3, Hacan at 2, and Barony at 1.
Yeah. So at this point, I remember thinking, why is everybody still having such a hard meta against Saar? Because clearly, purple is the leader.
Right.
And also, like, blue makes a lot out of their really bad, start.
He's sitting okay despite having very little to work with.
Mm-hmm.
That's Soul for you, I guess.
It's a good faction. It's a real good faction.
The final stage 1 objective.
Erect a monument. Spend 8 resources. Fun.
So our first agenda up is Minister of Peace. The, of course, sometimes kind of confusing one of someone gets to call off an attack from someone else, basically.
Right. Which Saar had placed there.
Right. This is what Saar put on top.
Which I think was wise. Maybe possibly slow down the aggression directed towards them.
Yeah. And here's some confusing. The players discussing it, and Blarknob giving his ruling of it has to be 2 different players. So the idea being that this doesn't really operate like a ceasefire does.
Right.
I've seen it go both ways. I don't even know if I've seen an official ruling, but the ruling at this table was you use it against 2 other players.
Right.
You broker a peace between 2 players.
Right.
I think this is another situation where I would like to see Saar trying to muscle in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last thing Saar wants is for Barony to have it.
Right.
They would rather have it to where someone can call off Barony's aggression against him. If he can give it to Naalu or L1z1x, or maybe not L1, but anyone else, I think, is who Saar would rather have it.
I don't know. There's still that aggressive meta against Saar, which
and I
really
think he's
feels
rolling
misplaced.
over. Yeah, and I think Saar is rolling over into it too. I think he should be pointing a finger more at Naalu.
I agree.
And getting some of it off of his back, and also just like from a standpoint of he's only at 3 points. He doesn't have any sort of discernible lead.
Mm-hmm.
He just has a big Saar pie slice that is already getting jumped on.
Right.
I think he could. I think the problem with our Saar player is he's very tactical and he's not being vocal enough.
Right.
He's not much of a metagamer as compared to like the Soul player.
Right.
Where the Soul player is almost the opposite.
The
rarely
Soul
see the
player's-
Soul player thinking. He's talking through everything, and
Right,
trying to like
right.
finagle a deal out of anything.
He's above the table. It is weird. It's so weird to me that they just gave Minister of Peace to Barony.
Yeah.
of all
And they pretty
people.
much right away say to Minister Exploration, obviously can't be Saar, which generally I agree with. I mean, 2 trade goods per planet that they take,
yeah, they're
that'd
just
be a
so
bit much.
doubling down on that, like against them.
Hacan argues that he's not planning on going anywhere, so if you want to negate the power of Minister of Exploration, he's a great choice.
It's a very good argument.
Which is also an interesting tell on his part of like, what, so then, we have already said once, what is Hacan doing to win this game?
Right.
But, in his defense, the objectives are spend command counters, spend resources,
Right.
spend
They
influence.
are passive objectives. There's not a single control objective out.
Yeah. So he seems to be just reading the board and saying, you know what? I don't need to make any enemies.
Right.
And I can just sit here and hopefully sit casually enough that I can kind of cruise to a
I
victory.
feel like at this point, what we need to, what Hacan should do, is take trade and make a lot of money. Well, right before we get into where
Late
people are
game.
getting into a range
Yeah.
where, like, this is the time now to do that.
Yeah, this would be the perfect round for a trade.
Right.
The current vote right now is Sol has voted for Barony 10 votes. Hacan has voted for himself 8 votes. And Naalu is trying to see if Hacan wants to have him swing it in his favor.
Right.
It looks like 2 trade goods go towards Naalu for 14 votes towards Hacan, putting him at 22.
He's got it.
Barony brings himself to 18. So Saar wants to see if there's anything he can do here. But not a hard sell.
Yeah.
And I think he should be pushing for it, because the one person, well, I don't know. He doesn't actually want Barony to get this. When it really comes down to it.
No.
So it's actually a little weird that he's trying to make a sale, but I think he's just trying to see what he can get out of it, because
If
he
he
doesn't
can get
see it
something
maybe.
big.
Yeah. He abstains, and Hacan gets the Minister of Exploration.
So we made 2 ministers. We made a Minister of Peace out of yellow, and then we made a Minister of Exploration out of red. Both kind of like Barony is the only one that Minister of Peace would be used against, for
Right,
sure.
right.
So they're both kind of canceled out.
Exactly.
for the
They're not.
most part.
They're more or less. They're not going to get used this
Right.
game. It doesn't seem.
And again, it continues all of the anti-green meta.
Yeah.
And he is just not finding a way out to just negotiate or be on an even footing with people. But it is strategy phase
And
now.
he's got the first pick.
He
So
does have the first pick. Okay, so green took Imperial.
looking to make
Black.
a push on the Mecatol, or maybe just looking to claim a bunch of objectives. Hard to say exactly what he'll go for.
I
He's
think-
he's postured for Mecatol.
Mecatol makes sense. Black takes diplomacy, which
Another
I actually
sad
don't
play.
know what's up about
Yeah,
that.
I think he's just
Blue
worried.
takes construction. Red takes trade.
There you go. Good for
This
Hacan.
This is the time to do that. I actually kind of want to copy this almost exactly in my next Hacan game,
Yeah,
to not take trade until
round 4-ish.
round 4. That sounds good.
Easy to note. No tech objectives so far, so tech is very quickly getting devalued.
Yeah, tech is not super important at this point. So we have purple taking politics and yellow taking leadership, which they actually agreed to do
Yeah.
it that way. Which I think was actually, honestly, just really good for purple. If yellow had maybe been a little more stony-faced, yellow could have gotten away with forcing purple to take leadership
Yeah.
and then taking politics for himself. But now we're going to be in a situation where purple might retain control of Mecatol Rex and does have politics. So now
Right.
it's almost imperative that Saar
Yeah.
take
Mecatol.
Mecatol from
Just so that
purple.
round 5 is not as dangerous
Like-
as it could be.
And it's weird that they're not calling more attention to this. The person in the lead has Mecatol Rex and
Politics.
politics. The command counter economy for most all factions, though, is pretty horrible.
Yeah, we're in the tank right now with command counters. So Naalu just builds at home. I'm not sure what Naalu's like game plan. I mean, Naalu's got enough stuff. He's already claimed 8 influence. He needs to do 8 resources at this point, which he's got plenty of. So I think he's just kind of wanting to sit pretty. And I think he's also building so that he can then move the big fleet out to attack Seoul, but not be leaving anything behind. It's not wise to move that fleet forward and then have your home system empty. So I think he's just trying to plan ahead a little bit.
And honestly, Purple is kind of in a bad spot right this second, if not for the fact that they can retreat to, because of foresight, they can retreat to any space, correct?
Right.
Any empty space, that is. All right, Barony is still
Chasing down Saar.
chasing Saar.
Now, it's worth noting there's 2 spaces he has options to retreat to, and he's known to retreat. So he's got Welland and he's got the asteroid field.
He retreats to the asteroid field.
He locks pretty much everything he's got down.
Yeah.
But with each attack that Barony is doing, A, he's getting planets, and B, he really is whittling away at this fleet, because Saar has routinely not been getting very many hits.
No.
And now all of Barony's dreadnoughts are refreshed. The fact that this happened across 2 rounds is really good for Barony, because all of his dreadnoughts refreshed, and he's back up at full health. Whereas this whole time, Saar has been losing a lot of its stamina.
Yeah. Some good close-up on Connor. Connor's on his phone. Very good. Thank you, Connor, for staying in the game. Okay, so he is not retreating into the asteroid field. He's retreating back to his cruiser.
Right. So retreating to Welland. Looks like there was 1 hit. Lost the fighter again.
Not great. Kind of casualties there. Barony just having it so easy with Saar right now.
And he's actually cut off there's another Saar planet there that he's cut Saar off from, so he can just take that whenever he wants at this point.
Well, he's even
left a carrier behind.
there to do it.
So really cleaning up Saar at this point.
Nobody seems to have any issue with this, which I realize right now, Saar is still potentially a threat to the entire board with Imperial, but their game, I would say, is on the edge of a knife at this point. Just barely good. Blue appears to be leaving.
Made an agreement, I guess, of some kind.
So that Purple can retreat now, but that's so weird. I wonder what he got for that. We did. If this was some sort of agreement, we did not pick it up.
Yeah. It makes taking that planet really questionable in the first place, too. Like, his last move of last round was to go there, and his first move of this round is to leave.
Right, so is he even going to get to spend it before Naalu takes it back? If it was for influence, it doesn't look like it. Looks like Naalu is going to have an opportunity, but we'll see. Maybe they've negotiated this out. We'll see how it goes down. All right, we are doing trade right now. It looks like L1 making some sort of trade with Hacan, giving him a promissory note for something.
I think he gave up his trade agreement for some amount of trade goods. Yeah, this is where Hacan is really working the table. He refreshes Seoul, he refreshes Naalu. He does a 3 for 2 with Naalu and a 4 for 4 with Seoul. That's just an absolute pile of trade goods on Hacan's sheet
Hacan did
now.
very good. I really like the way that he plays, actually, now that I'm seeing it again. I remember I did not get it the first time, but not focusing on trade out of the gate, focusing more on your construction issues.
Yep.
With actually being able to build stuff and just kind of hanging in there.
Yeah.
And getting trade agreements from people in preparation for a giant trade swing.
Right. We need to see him take Imperial or something next round because
Did I just coin a new term? The trade swing.
The trade swing.
The trade swing.
It's the Hacan trade swing.
He did it. Red here did it, but I coined it. The trade swing. This is really making me want to play Hacan watching him do this right now.
But shouldn't be overstated. He has 1 point to his name. He's got a lot of stuff on the board. He's got a lot of peaceful negotiations. But point-wise, he hasn't accomplished much.
That's true.
So he needs a heavy swing in this late game to be competitive.
He does.
Currently, if Naalu does take the speaker token, he'll be going last. So he's a long ways from any sort of swing.
Yeah.
And here's the big play. Here comes Saar diving onto Mecatol. Yeah.
But see, the Seoul got out of the way, and now Purple has a place to retreat to, which is confusing. So I really wish that we knew what Seoul got for Naalu essentially getting to escape. This doesn't. This looks pretty bad because that's a lot of fighters. So Naalu is definitely going to lose this fight.
Right, he needs to retreat.
Honestly, if I was Saar, I wouldn't even. I would bring that 4th infantry just out of fear, because I'm always afraid of losing infantry combat, even if it's like really stacked in your favor.
He's coming with 3 ground forces against 1.
Three against 1. It should be fine.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that in my. Well, see, the other thing too is that you're gonna have to worry about Soul after that. So.
But let's not forget this is Saar
Yeah.
with the space dock in the
They're
system.
gonna plop some stuff down.
So Naalu deciding if he wants to go ahead and use the foresight or if he thinks he can fight it out for a round.
Don't see why they shouldn't. They should retreat,
Yeah.
especially since Blue gave him the open. Gotta be honest, a little confused by Blue's play right here.
Mm-hmm.
Blue will not be able to take Mecatol Rex this round. They've
Right.
already activated the system that would be able to do it.
Right. And building a space dock there will be useless now too. So if they were going to try to build something, I'm not sure what Blue's plan
I thought
is.
the play was that Blue was going to converge on Mecatol Rex before Saar could.
Right.
Get in there. Then
Yeah,
flip
everything from both
construction.
should have sent in, and then you construct. But I don't know, maybe he got talked out of it, or maybe he saw that Saar was coming with too much stuff and just decided it's not worth it.
It would have been that classic thing though, where Soul loses the space battle,
keeps
but
the
does
ground.
not keeps the planet. There's no way Saar would have taken that from Soul. Soul has 4 ground forces in range.
Yeah. So Saar does a devastating first round of combat and completely wipes out all the ships. He gets a really lucky roll on all those 9s.
But so Naalu does not do foresight.
Naalu doesn't do foresight, and it costs him dearly. He loses the whole fleet in one round of combat.
His purple's command counter situation is actually pretty dire right here.
Yeah.
I forgot how bad this gets. I have this written down. I didn't see it on the video, but on green rolled some 9s and got 50% of the hits.
Yeah, that'll do.
That's
That'll do
completely
just
insane. So now we're doing invasion combat. This is going to save Green's game right here.
Yeah.
Green has not been having a good time. What's kind of a bummer is that Green did not get the meta back on their side at all.
Yeah.
And this is just going to be more fuel for that fire. So purple and yellow are just going to continue to succeed in painting Green as like the bad guy.
Right.
Meanwhile, both of them have very legitimate advantages.
Right. It's unfortunate for Green because this is putting him in a better position, but that means he's also looking even more like the enemy.
Yeah. Yeah, if only he was able to get the heat off of him before he had to make this move. He has to do this now.
Yeah,
also.
he does.
Like, I'm not disagreeing with the timing at all. This is the time to do
It's
it.
just
He has to do
unfortunate.
it.
So here, Saar is now asking, before he builds, he's kind of checking in with Barony to see if Barony's done with this. Like, basically, Saar's deciding if he spends all of his resources here on Mecatol Rex and dig in, or does he need to spend them elsewhere and keep doing stuff. So he's trying to figure out if he can broker a new peace with Barony. If Barony's done aggressing on him, maybe he can just be done with that and stick it into Mecatol. And based on Barony's answer, he decides to build 6 ground forces on Mecatol Rex, and that's all. But that makes it 9 ground forces on Mecatol Rex. He's not going anywhere for a while.
Right.
So Naalu's first action this round was to build in his home system, and his second action is to play a repeal on Hacan's Minister of Exploration, which to me just says that must be a stall. Because what purpose do you have to repeal? Like, I would save that repeal for a scarier law later down the road, unless
I
he
don't
has
see
some
why
sort
he
of
doesn't.
big plan.
I would be more concerned about Yellow having Minister of Peace if I was him.
Right.
Because, like, I don't want any of my, him to have that, just even that bargaining chip on me.
I think maybe he's just concerned about scaring Barony into thinking they're, combative. I think he's trying to just stay on Barony's good side.
That's probably accurate. And Hacan just made so much money that no one's going to buck at like
Right, him having access to possibly more.
right. And also, Red said they didn't really care to have it, so that's probably you're probably right. It probably is just a stall. L1 finally.
Yeah, getting their plan.
Wow,
back.
it's been so long.
Yeah.
What is his play with diplomacy? I'm confused.
It might be to refresh those planets so he can just use that money. It's Lazar Saculag, and he just needs to get stuff on the board at this point.
Yeah.
So I could see it being more about just like, I'm taking those planets, I want to get them back right away and use them. I can't waste time. And at one point in all these actions, Naalu actually came over to Hacan and was doing some whispering. He offered the Hacan the speaker token so that on this next turn, he wanted Hacan to be the person to take Mecatol Rex. He was saying, hey, I'll give you speaker token if you jump on Mecatol Rex right now. and crush Saar. But Hacan declines. I mean, there's too many ground forces there at this point. There's just there's not enough for it to be worth it. I don't think Naalu could offer. He would need to do more than speaker token, and I just don't think there's enough to offer. And especially, it's just like kind of the wrong target for that sort of deal. Hacan has made no aggression towards anyone all game, and this certainly wouldn't be the opportunity to do it. So instead, Hacan builds in a system adjacent to Naalu, which also happens to be adjacent to Naalu's new flagship.
Hacan is just so poised, but again, still not sure what is the...
Poised to do what?
Yeah,
is sort of the question.
Actually, quite curious as to what else Saar kind of has.
He has Imperial, so sort of a debate of, do I need to pop it right now while I still have Mecatol, or do I think I'm going to be able to hold it for longer, and do I need to get some other stuff done?
I would. You don't know what people have.
Yeah. I think it's about a timing attack of, is there an opportunity to slash back at Barony, or do something to L1, but I think it's too costly in either direction, and he goes for the Imperial play, which is smart, get those points, and if anything, every option Saar had was in some way aggressive, get a bunch of points, or attack one of his two neighbors, and I think he went for the one that is technically least aggressive, despite putting him at 5 points. He claims 3 command counters and a Mecatol point, and that puts him at 5, tied for the lead with Naalu. So again, Saar's got all the heat, but sharing a lead with Naalu, who has basically none.
Who has, no heat at all, basically.
So Naalu finally takes back Tekaran and Torcan, moves a decently sizable fleet adjacent to Mecatol Rex, but has to leave enough behind so that he's not too threatened by the Khan. I believe they still have each other's ceasefires, though, but those could pop at any moment, so you don't want to leave yourself too empty.
It does look like Blue did get to use Tekaran and Torcan before all was said and done. Leadership was popped before Purple took it back.
Yes.
So I do feel like there must have been some sort of deal.
Some timing agreement there before. And that's why Naalu had to stall earlier, too, was just opening up that window. His leadership was played immediately after he played that.
So that's probably exactly what it was. All right, so Yellow going further and further, taking
this one was empty, but it is Saar's home, and further cutting off any access points Saar has to getting out. If anything, this further pushes Saar either into L1 or he has to put up a fight against Barony. So I think Saar is quickly running out of options here. He'll be protected in that asteroid field, but he's got to choose which direction he goes.
He's going to do something drastic if he wants to come back just as far as raw combat ability is concerned.
Right. Because at this point, I don't even know that he has enough in resources to ever claim that. I don't know if he's taken enough planets or saved. It looks like he's got no trade goods currently. So there's a lot of points he doesn't have access to unless he takes more stuff.
Right.
But he's surrounded by big fleets.
Saar is trying to negotiate some sort of trade with Hacan, probably giving him his trade agreement for something in the meantime.
And L1 was just trying to stay relevant. He's building his home system. Sol plays the action card Mining Initiative for 4 trade goods. And Hacan decides to also just build. So a lot of just reinforcement happening this round. This is kind of one of those calm before the storm rounds where everybody's building up. After the Mecatol
it was a calm before the storm round where somebody took Mecatol from somebody else.
It's a little bit of both.
A little stormy. The status quo is kind of returning. I feel like for Blue and Black, they're finally starting to get to kind of the point that they should have been at the beginning.
Still very curious what Sol's plans are. I mean, Liz's plan is just to get back into fighting contention, but Sol, I don't know where they're going and with what. I mean,
Saar has already passed even.
Yeah. So the deal is, Naalu gives up speaker token, but because Hacan wants to take trade again, which I think is brilliant, trade's going to get a double, or Hacan's going to get a double huge trade rounds. But the idea between their deal is Naalu gets a refresh no matter what if he gives up that speaker token, and Naalu agrees. And so far he holds to deals, so there's no reason for these two players to not believe that.
So now Yellow's kind of being pulled into this deal with Hacan. I remember this is the point where it felt like Purple had made so many deals that people were starting to get kind of all over the place about it. I actually wrote that down. Purple has made a lot of deals. So there's some sort of, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but basically Naalu had promised something to Barony already. And Barony was like, hey, wait, now I'm not going to get that because of this new deal you've made with Hacan. Right. I also have written here, I don't know if we're going to get it on the on this camera, but he discarded In the Silence of Space.
Yeah, I had that same thing. I think he's finishing drawing his action cards, and clearly he's got a good hand because he gives up a pretty big one.
In the Silence of Space, which is completely... The negotiation, the friendliness is actually kind of starting to break down a little bit. It feels like they're starting to splinter a little more.
Every time Barony does anything with a command counter, he gives a little double tap on the sheet. I love it.
What style?
And he moves in on the final...
Oh, he's finally mopping up that.
Yeah, final planet of Saar's. Taking this leaves Saar with 4 total planets.
Wow.
So, oh how the mighty have fallen. Now one of those planets is Mecatol Rex, but one of them is a weakly defended Vefet 2 in Lizix's space, and then his 2 other fleets are...
completely outmatched.
Yeah.
It's literally just a matter of time.
So Lizix wants to refresh his home system. This is the planet he opted to use twice. Clearly he's just trying to get back on top of this fleet problem he's been having.
Right. He's going to build a big fleet so that going into the next round, he can do stuff.
Or actually, no, more like, actually what I think this is he's trying to get his resources. This is to get a point.
This is for the point. Very smart.
He's kept 3 resources somewhere else, and the 5 from his home is going to help him score 8 resources. So again, this is what I love about our L1 player is he, despite being constantly like against the wall, he is the most objective focused person at this table.
He's very objective.
Naalu's getting a decent amount, but there's been a couple rounds where Naalu could have gotten more objectives and didn't. But Lizix every time gets every point that is possibly available to him.
Yeah. A barony next to a Saar, I feel like it's kind of always going to turn out like this, unless the Saar really focuses on them. Yeah. Honestly, Saar having the neighbors that they had are not, just on paper, are bad.
Yeah. And what's unfortunate is I do think Saar made the wrong call going for L1. The decision was, well, L1 has a little bit less money and a worse slice, but the big problem there is you have to jump the gap to get to them. Yeah. If they have a clear line to Barony, and in Barony's case, the asteroid field is adjacent to the home system.
Right.
So
he could have gotten there with chaos mapping.
He could have done a lot more damage to Barony.
Yeah.
And L1 may have never come at him because that wall is still there. There's a wall of empty between them. So he could have been protected on the L1 side and just done away with Barony.
I agree. Someone hands Saar an apple that he bites into instantly.
Yearning.
Without even looking at it, just puts it right in his mouth. Apple's still got the sticker on it. Hasn't even peeled the sticker off. He might eat the sticker. Well, all right, this calls for a sticker watch. Sticker watch 2018. Will he eat the sticker? We will find out.
Barony builds a home.
Yeah, whatever.
This is the only thing that matters.
The only thing that matters to me is sticker watch at 2018. Is that sticker going in his tummy? If it does, I know for a fact that it's not the biggest deal. I've eaten a lot of stickers in my time. Love a good sticker. Love a good scratch and sniff. I say scratch, sniff, and taste. Get all 3 of those senses in there.
Feel? You're going to feel
Touch it. Scratch it. Sniff
See it.
You do see it. I forgot about that. You get 4 in there.
What's the 5th sense?
Seeing dead people. Don't you remember that movie, The Fifth Sense?
The 5th sense.
I don't see this.
Isn't it weird?
There's the sticker.
Isn't it weird that the 6th sense is just another seeing? It's not a new sense. It's just doubling down.
Right.
On one of
It's
the
just
other
an
senses.
expanded sense that already exists.
I hear
Yeah, that's
dead
pretty
people.
dumb. That's pretty dumb. Yeah, the 6th. What should the 6th sense actually be? Like.
Laser vision.
No, that's another
That's not actually
expanded
vision,
sense.
though. That's like I shoot things with my eyeballs.
I think it should just be like a little like.
Is that
thing
what
on your-
grokking is?
What's grokking?
Grokking is a term from Stranger in a Strange Land, and it's like more than knowing.
Ah. Yes.
What's happening in this game?
Well, sticker watch is well underway, and I can't see the sticker currently, so I can only assume it's in Saar's tummy. Cannot see the sticker on that apple. Must be deep inside the tummy. I think we're at the end of this round, actually.
Yeah, everyone is passed.
Yeah, we are scoring objectives.
So we see Naalu score 5
Oh,
trade
L1
goods.
scored a secret of some kind.
Naalu scored 5 trade goods. Barony scored 8 resources. L1 scored 8 resources. Sol got a secret of 3 adjacent to an anomaly, so that helps
Very
explain
cool.
kind of pulling back, as well as 8 influence. Hacan scores 8 influence. Saar scores 8 influence. And that leaves us at Naalu, Sol, and Saar at 6 points. L1 at 4 points. Hacan at 3, and Barony at 2. So despite Barony having a really good round, didn't really net them very much.
Yeah, Barony and Hacan are kind of having the similar games in that they're getting a lot done, but they haven't been so objective focused to the point where now they need to pull a swing.
Right.
Now the difference is that Hacan has already pledged to take trade, which I would say the smart play for Hacan now is Imperial,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so.
But they've already volunteered to not do that, which means I wonder... I don't know.
I don't know where Hacan makes it happen at this point.
Yeah.
And the new objective that comes out is the first stage 2, control someone else's home system, which is, well, Barony's already doing it,
Right.
and the rest are going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, so that's quite good for Barony, but luckily for everybody else, Barony has been so far behind that's
Right.
not...
All this will do is put Barony kind of on equal footing.
Sure.
And it's not like he has it on lockdown. There is a Saar fleet next door, but there's a Barony fleet. I don't know. That could be a contentious point this
Yeah,
round. They could
yeah.
be fighting over Saar's home system quite a lot. But all Saar would be doing is point denial, so it's hard to say if it's even worth it
Yeah.
for them.
Doesn't look like there's a lot of home systems that are vulnerable really at all, though.
Right. The entire apple has been eaten, and never was there a shot of the sticker being peeled off.
The sticker is inside Saar's tummy. Deep in Saar's tummy. From now on, all fan art of the Sad Boy Weird Bears variant of Clan of Saar requires references to apple stickers. Like, I want the bear to have little stickers on his
Yeah,
lips. Like, he
right.
just got done eating a bunch of apples and all the stickers have collected on his upper lip. All right, agenda phase. I'm excited. This one's going to be buck wild. I can feel it. I know it somehow. How would I know
Somehow.
it? How would I know it?
And fleet regulations comes out to either lock everyone down to 4, which is a terrible thing for Saar in almost every situation.
Yeah.
Great for Barony too.
Right. This just guarantees that Barony will always
Have
that
an advantage. Or everyone gains 1 in fleet supply.
So most of them, this is not going to affect hugely.
But it does make the situation between Saar and Barony specifically more contentious. and
Yeah, I
scary.
agree. Except for the fact that Saar actually doesn't have more than 4 right now.
Right.
Saar only
He would have to be building up to
Saar
that.
has been just flying real loose with only 2 in their fleet pool. Mm-hmm. They're really at this point trying to do that thing that's like always kind of difficult to do, which is feel out the vote before you play your rider. Which is smart that they're trying to do this. I would say in our group, nobody ever gets away with this. We've now gotten to that phase of the game where people are just standing up randomly. Like people are just standing and playing now.
So Naalu offers up a political secret to Saar to keep the votes staying against, which will net him 3 command counters, which he desperately needs at this
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
he's more in it for his rider than he is for the actual
Yeah, he doesn't care.
agenda. The agenda phase for these players is really a time to talk about everything.
Yeah.
There's not as much talk during the round anymore, but they really talk about the entire next round during these agenda phases.
They use the agenda phase to do all of the major deal making.
The againsts have it. Naalu gets 3 command counters, and everyone
Wow.
gains a fleet supply.
Purple is such a good negotiator.
Yeah.
Always, I feel like the key is Purple never really asks for too much.
Right.
Never really pushes it too far and is willing to give. So it's like, I get this little boost, and I'm going to give you a little something. It's always been kind of small.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're
so
dropping
Ixian
the
artifact comes out.
This is the one that drops a nuke on Mecatol, or people gain tech, or nothing happens. So it's a pretty big deal. Saar is sitting on Mecatol Rex, and I think almost everybody has some sort of fleet adjacent, and so everyone's going to lose something. Now,
So
as a
this is going to
commentator,
be really bad for Saar.
yeah,
This is really. This could not. The agenda phase has been so
dirty
horrible for Saar.
Yeah, and Barony just not that long ago pulled their fleets away from Mecatol, so Barony won't get hit at all, and Saar will lose essentially half of their overall fleets.
So Saar plays Veto.
But L1 sabotages
Wow, so
it.
L1 sabotages it. Okay, so it is going through. L1 kind of getting their vengeance in that moment. And it is going to be good for L1 because it's basically going to open up Mecatol to possibly this big fleet that they've been preparing.
Right.
So much table play that has come out against Saar.
So Barony assassinates Naalu's representatives, so Naalu no longer has a vote. And Saar does a brilliant play here of popping his Imperial Rider on the 4. So if they decide to nuke Mecatol Rex, he's getting a point out of it. He'll lose a big part of his fleet, most of his ground forces.
But he will gain a point.
He will be, I believe that will put him in the lead. Yeah, that would put him at 7 points. And that's 2 people out of the vote. L1 plays a politics writer against
Very smart.
to try to get the speaker token. And some action cards. Barony and Sol and Hacan are the only 3 players at the table voting on this.
Right.
Hacan and Barony don't have any fleets adjacent to Mecatol. Sol is the only one who stands to lose anything here. And Hacan will be the last one in voting order, so it could all come down to Hacan.
I think L1 played this brilliantly, actually, because I think that I don't know, I forget even what they do, but L1 is definitely right that they cannot give him the point because
Right.
it would put him at 7. He gets to keep his ground forces there. It only destroys ships, does not destroy units. This is probably one of the best agenda phases that we've ever captured on film. This is great. I mean, we got a lot of them during this trip, and this was probably the most interesting.
So Saar's looking to make some deals with Hacan, and kind of everybody's looking to butter up Hacan, because they're the last in the voting order. Worth noting, they could vote for, and that doesn't necessarily mean Saar gets nuked.
Right.
He could gain 2 tech out of it.
Right.
It could be all net benefit for Saar. There's like a 50%
Against
chance.
is for sure what they need to do. 4 is such a huge risk because they could actually, they could be putting Saar basically in such a good position. They could give Saar tech and a point.
Yep. All he would need is a secret objective, or no, he would need a Mecatol point and to take a home system.
Yep.
And he's done, and he's Saar, so he certainly has the tools to do that. Barony votes 6-4.
Wow. Imperial Rider is so cool for this, just making it where turning a agenda on its head and making it where what would have been just pretty much bad for Saar is now kind of a win-win.
Yeah. So Sol, I believe, has already voted 9 now, so it really is up to Hacan to finish this deal. And Saar immediately jumps on it and runs over to Hacan to start making offers.
Hacan is the only one that's really had any kind of not hardcore anti-Saar meta.
Yeah.
Hacan has basically been willing to deal with everybody, including Saar. So Saar is literally walking over to this side of the table with all of it, pretty much everything he has.
The L1 is even offering up action cards because the L1 so badly does not want Saar to gain this leg up. So the L1, despite not having... Well, he does have a dog in the fight, but he very badly wants the against to happen. A for Speaker, which would also put Saar at picking last. This is a very hard play against Saar from the L1.
Yeah. So now it's just up to everybody to court Hacan for... basically for...
Which Hacan should milk for all.
Yeah.
Their will.
Saar literally showing his entire hand of action cards to Hacan. That's how desperate this situation is. L1 just like slid over one, like, hey, look at this. And Saar's just like, what do you want? And he takes L1's deal.
He takes L1's deal, 1 action card.
Okay,
So
the against have it.
L1 gets the speaker token and 2 action cards. And nothing else happens.
So now think about all the deals that Purple had made
Right.
about the speaker token.
Yeah,
and to give
it's
it
all a
where it was
wash.
supposed to be. Yeah,
Right.
such a huge wash. So L1 is looking to finally have a good round.
Yeah.
After so much just turmoil and being behind. So we will just kind of see if L1 can really turn it around. I mean, L1's not in a horrible place at this point. L1's about, probably probably needs green and purple and blue to all pretty much have
Yeah.
a not great game, but if they make the right moves.
Yeah. In addition, what's funny here about the action card that L1 gave to Hakan, that came with a promise. The promise was for L1 to move that lone destroyer on the wormhole out of the way, and I don't know how audibly he said this, but the deal was that Hakan wants to take Barony's home system, and he needs that wormhole opened up to do so.
Wow.
Hakan is sitting on Lodor, and is part of the reason he took that single action card from L1 was more about L1 opting to move that destroyer later.
Yeah.
So Hakan making his big plays now with the fleets and everything he's been building up for all game.
Negotiation. That's the name of this game. This is not a tactics game.
No.
This is about talking. Okay, so we're going into round 5 now. L1 literally just has all of the strategy cards laid out in front of him, looking at every possibility. What would be nice, it doesn't look like they have a way to do this, but if L1 could have taken Imperial here and swung, had a swing round,
It would be big.
yeah.
But I think he's still not sitting on enough
I don't
swing
think he
happen.
has it. I don't think he has the resources.
It's very likely what
necessary.
he's counting out right now, too. He's
Yeah.
just trying to see if there's even a play. And also thinking about who you're giving Imperial up to. But Saar is dead last, so it's not going to make it to him. He does take Warfare. He needs to make moves, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Probably the smart move. Blue at this point, I feel like could maybe do the same with Imperial.
Yeah, he's sitting right next to it. But again, there's so many Saar ground forces there that honestly it just doesn't feel like... Imperial you are only taking to block Saar at this point, is my opinion. And to claim the public
I
objective.
think Sol-
Don't think about Imperial as a Mecatol play
I think
anymore.
Sol could do it.
He'd have to move a lot of stuff over there. His flagship's not on the board. He's only got 3 carriers, and they're all a little bit far away.
If he orbital dropped on
And then moved in.
and could win the space battle,
That's 6, and then he
is
brings
hard.
4 from there. Okay, so he could bring 10.
he could do it.
It would take a couple turns to do it.
It's actually the space battle that I think would be the slightly tough part, but I
Mhm.
still think he could do it. I think it's what I would have done. But yeah, every these players are thinking about every single option at this point.
The one thing that can happen is for Saar to get it. He's dead last, so he shouldn't, but you know, if he gets it, that's a free point, and he's 3 points away from winning. A long deliberation from Sol. All just to take
All to take
construction.
construction, and I gotta tell you, I'm not sure I get it. Oh, what? You're taking? He's taking L1's strategy card there for a second.
I wonder if they just have the secret objective for PDS. It's very possible it's just
That's
that, and he's
probably
opting
it.
to sit back and
That's
wait this
probably it.
round out. Hakan does take trade as promised. Naalu has to take politics again.
Which basically forces Barony to take
Yeah.
Imperial. But it's not a horrible pick for Barony, considering they can claim the 2-pointer right now.
Their first point, or their first play can just be to get that out of the way and then go worry about the rest of their round. So Saar really has to think about what is going to happen here. Now, leadership seems like the play. I see 5 total command counters on his
Yeah, it's pretty
sheet.
dire. It just depends. I think he's got a gambit in mind. Otherwise, he would just take leadership. Yeah, he's clearly going to do some weird stuff. I'm not bearing the lead here. I don't remember.
Yeah, scary though because there's no tech objectives. This has clearly got something else in mind, but it's hard to.
Yeah, he should have taken lead. I'm almost willing to say, unless he does something really weird, he should have taken leadership.
Now it's worth noting he definitely has at least 2 blue tech. He may be opting to try to get a light wave deflector out of this.
Yeah, I just looked. It's gonna be fun. He's a fun guy. Saar is a fun guy. Don't, I'll never not say that. This guy's a fun guy.
But what that leaves him with is 1 opportunity to make the play. Naalu's just kind of consolidating forces.
Oh no, Naalu finally plays upgrade correctly.
Yeah, activates,
Yay.
plays upgrade, and abandons Arnor lore to try to, I don't know, defend closer to his home system, defend Barraglow 4 against this oncoming Hakan fleet.
Hakan gets really greedy with Saar here. And Saar doesn't really have anybody at the else at the table that trades with them. So, yeah, Hacan is really getting greedy right here. Hakan's trying to negotiate a bunch of 3-for-2s.
Finally, Hacan turning on what I would say, especially at this time. This was August of last year. I think it was more common for Hakans to get really greedy, and I'm not seeing as much as often. But this was more the Hacan I was looking for all game.
I think there's something really cool about what he's doing, and I realize victory point wise he's not cleaning up, but this smart early construction into mid game trade and starting out really friendly and then kind of tightening is actually quite cool.
I think if he had spent just even a tiny bit more time to get some of because not all of the objectives were especially hard. He could have built up, I think, almost just as much and still been scoring some objectives.
I think I want to try and do what he's doing, but with just kind of a touch more objective focus.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just if you get lucky
Saar
with the
is
objectives.
desperately trying to get not get cut out of trade right now.
Yeah.
But Hacan is doing a really good job of just negotiating with everybody. And I'm actually afraid Saar's about to get completely left out here. He's just holding his commodity limit.
Yeah.
All right, so Saar takes the 3-for-2.
He gets a 3-for-2 out of Saar, a 3-for-2 out of Naalu, and he gets a 2-for-1 out of L1. So he nets 8 trade goods.
Very good.
At a cost of 5, so he should have one more commodity sitting there. L1 goes with another flank speed. Same system, trying to do another attack on Welland. This is just a repeat from round 2.
Okay. Well, it's like we said before. Basically, L1 has come around full circle and is now finally.
And with 2 sabotages definitely gone, Saar doesn't have anything to answer.
He's going after Saar's home system.
Yeah.
Everybody's going after Saar's home system.
That's 5 dreadnoughts.
He finally has a real fleet.
But he's completely emptying adjacent to his home system. So he's leaving his own home system incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, possibly to Seoul, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it looks to me like if Seoul had not focused so much on construction, maybe Seoul would have a shot at kind of cleaning up L1 right now. But, remember. Okay. I know why he's doing this. Black and Blue have traded support for the throne.
Right, they can't. They're not options for each other.
Right. Seoul could be mean and take the system.
empty planets.
Yeah. Which we might see that happen. We'll see.
And Saar could take them just as easily, though. If Saar decides Welland isn't worth it, Saar might turn that same fleet that took over Lazar Sakulag earlier.
We just missed Green skilled retreated to the asteroid field, which is what a perfect time to use that.
Yeah, but also locks that down, so you won't be able to take anything back with that big fleet on the asteroid field.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But I also think at this point, Saar's probably just more interested in making it to the next round.
What's funny about this is Saar took tech with the intent of getting lightwave deflectors, but now the major fleet in his way isn't in his way, and he's locked down his fleet that he would have been making the game plan for.
That's a good point. So what is the point now?
Yeah, he's sort of got to just come up with new options.
He probably should have just taken that loss there, honestly.
It was a skilled retreat. He could have retreated to the empty space adjacent to L1's home.
Yeah.
We see tech get flipped. What we're going to see here is, of course, Saar getting gravity drive and lightwave deflector. L1 gets Dreadnought 2 with these 5 Dreadnoughts. He just started moving in on L1 space. And keep in mind, L1 has Warfare, so those 5 Dreadnoughts are not done.
Right.
Then, Naalu's going to pick up Fighter 2 finally, Crystal Fighter 2. Hacan gets Gravity Drive, and Barony gets Fleet Logistics, which I think is really interesting.
What did Hacan get?
Gravity Drive.
Gravity Drive, okay. That's interesting.
Hacan has been very behind in the tech game, but I think that's smart because this has not been a tech objective game, so you don't need him unless you need him for plays.
He's just now getting Gravity Drive, which it sounds like this is possibly the round that he'll need it. I wonder how much home system invasion we're actually going to see.
Right. Saar's fleet on Mecatol is poised to strike at something. L1 is clearly moving in on Saar.
This is great, though, because now we're finally seeing L1 and Barony clash.
So Barony actually skips to Fleet Logistics. So very intentionally getting fleet logistics. I'm not sure what the play is, but I think maybe he just sees the utility in doing 2 actions back to back. Especially with his upcoming turn being that he's going to flip Imperial, he could ideally do 2 things at once, get his point, and make a move.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a short-term, timely goal than it is a I need fleet logistics to accomplish a lot of things.
Right.
He does do Imperial first. He's got the home planet of Saar, so he gets his 2 points. That moves him up to 4.
I assume he's going to try and move out of the way of L1's fleet, so he got the point already. So now he can just leave.
Barony fleet logistics to go ahead and move out of Saar's home system. They argue a little bit over whether or not Barony should take the ground force on Rog. Do you mind if I take Rog? Yes, I mind. So these 2 players, although he's getting out of L1's way, he's certainly not just conceding the point. He's kind of saying, well, I don't want to lose a carrier and a fighter.
Right.
Naalu flips politics for the 2nd round in a row, and once again gives Hacan speaker token.
Wow.
At this point, Naalu comes to the table, comes to Hacan saying, hey, I know you like to buy this speaker token. What are you going to take? What I like about this play from Naalu is it always gives him the option to take politics again if he needs to. If he needs to.
Right.
If you know this person ahead of you is not going to take anything bad.
Right.
You get what you want, and then you
Did Naalu ever, has Naalu ever taken speaker token for themselves?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I think it's been a deal every single time.
Given it to Hacan every time.
Which honestly, I mean, I think we can all learn a lot from that. I see people do speaker token deals every once in a while, but Naalu's literally doing it every single time.
I think he could be getting more out of it. He's kind of just he's letting it be part of his relationship with Hacan, but rarely is he making Hacan buy it.
It's kind of a little bit similar to the strategy of the trade triangle, though, where it feels like the goal is more to just keep the speaker token on his side of the table, not necessarily specifically in his hand.
Right. So Hacan claims he's either going to take trade or warfare, so that is clearly enough for Naalu to be willing to give up speaker. And Sol draws some action cards. And he plops both on bottom, so we'll be going into the next agenda phase completely blind. Naalu says out loud he burned a victory point agenda. Didn't want to see that happen. It's Sol's turn, and he's clearly kind of stumped on what the perfect play is.
I just think that their side of the table has just been, both black and blue have still just been kind of playing like behind. Even though like victory point wise, blue is caught up. It's still like...
But his board presence lacks severely.
Yeah, his board presence lacks. I want to see him make some sort of swing here.
Yep.
Try something audacious, you know? Yeah, you're probably right. He probably has this PDS thing in his pocket. Is there a way he could get...
Something bigger, too.
Something bigger. Black is clearly swinging, is trying for something. But black has had the problem all game of just needing to use the strategy card to do like this one thing, and the one thing is the only thing that they can do.
And it's never to help him be in a better position. It's always to get him into just an okay position.
Yeah. So here we go. Blue cleaning up some of Saar's planets. Saar is going to be down to
2 planets.
2 planets now.
He'll have one of his home planets, which he won't have for very long.
So we
Mecatol
are fixing to have a Saar that only has Mecatol Rex.
Yeah.
A Mecatol Rex Saar. It should be noted at this point, because we are in the late game. I don't know if you guys can feel that yet. There will be a first, second, and third.
Yeah.
It's not a winner-take-all game. That's what
it
those
is a winner
trophies are
takes
about.
the best trophy, but...
Yeah, it's a winner takes whatever trophy they want, which the best one is obviously the glow-in-the-dark one, you dinguses. Okay, so guess what? Sol won that. LB.
And here comes Hacan.
So they clearly negotiated.
They had to have negotiated
I missed
that.
it, but they definitely negotiated that.
Because otherwise Naalu would not have cleared everything out. I don't know what the deal could possibly be. It looks like he's only taking one. He's opting to just take one planet, so that must have been part of the deal.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Hacan, if that puts him at 4
I
industrial
wonder
planets.
how people are going to feel about that. That there's some point trading happening.
Yeah. Hacan has 3 hazardous planets, 2 industrials, and 1 cultural. So it doesn't
It
seem
must
like
be the secret adjacent to home system.
Must be. Yeah, that's got to be
That's
it.
got to be it.
So L1 digging further into Saar plays an insubordination on Saar.
Wow. He must see the play. So he is just playing fierce. Oh, so Saar, that was devastating.
Saar loses his command counter in his tactics pool to an insubordination, begs for a sabotage. There's not
Doesn't
one to
get
be
it.
had, and
Doesn't
is
get it.
forced to pass
And
without
is
getting
forced
to
to
pull
pass.
off anything this round.
Saar, so L1 and Sol had unlucky starts. Saar just had too many enemies
Yep.
at the table,
Yep.
basically. Which is classic Saar. It's
Yeah.
like thematic.
Right.
They're disliked. They are, they're the sad boy weird bears.
So we see a bunch of building at home. Barony builds at home. Naalu builds at home.
Everybody's getting ready for what they think is going to be the last round,
Yeah.
which, I mean, at this point, it feels pretty safe to say that the next round should be the last round. Like, this is about as fast as it goes, Twilight Imperium, but
Yeah.
not a super long game.
If next round isn't the last round, it will certainly be the most explosive round. And it
Yeah.
won't be the last round because too many home systems are taken.
That'll
be the net result. It's just like, 4 of us lost our home systems, and so none of us can claim the points we need to win.
Yeah. All of the home systems are pretty well defended at this point. There's only...
Yeah.
No one else has lightweight besides Saar.
Correct.
And Saar just was so thoroughly trounced there.
Yeah.
The Saar will not be able to do anything funky.
Yeah.
Everybody's just got... Hacan and Naalu are just like fleet.
It's worth noting here that L1 Destroyer is still sitting in the wormhole, so that deal that L1 made Hacan has been betrayed.
Oh, right.
Hacan said he was going to make a play on Barony's home system and lost his opportunity because L1 never moved the Destroyer. So I wonder if that's a huge deal for Hacan, if his whole plan hinged on that.
Is that going to come up? Is L1 going to actually move it, or what? Is Black going to change the deal?
Right. Sol having another tough decision. Clearly has a big play in mind, but can't decide if now is the opportunity to pull the trigger.
I mean, I think it's now. But I think Sol should have taken different strategy card. I know that they're going for
PDS.
the PDS secret, and that sucks. But I feel like you just gotta go for more points.
Yeah.
The most points you can get in one round. But it does. I do keep forgetting that he has Black's support for the throne.
He's
So
very
he
limited
cannot-
in his actual
He cannot
options.
go after L1's home system. So maybe there just isn't a play. Maybe it's that he's too far behind, and the only option is to betray somebody that he'll lose a point for betraying. That's not a
Right.
good option.
So Sol decides to just take a build action in their home system. Can't find the right play. There's just too many things that he doesn't have options for. Again, that Nebula and
That
Supernova
wall.
is killing him on one side, and honestly, while he did need to make that deal with L1, that has forced him to have basically no options
Right.
in this game.
That's true.
He needed to make a push. He should have stuck with that push into Naalu earlier on and not taken any deals, and that needed to be his mid-game play.
Yeah.
But I don't think he sent enough initially for it to actually work out. It should have been a much bigger investment so that it could have panned out. Because right now, he's you can tell he's just like looking for any possible
Yeah,
option.
he's looking for something, and there's not really anywhere to go. He just needs this to. He's in the worst. Him and Barony are essentially in a similar boat right now. They just need this to go longer.
Right.
They need this to go longer than this is, and then basically, Saar, Naalu, both kind of need this to wrap up soon. Especially
Yeah.
Saar. Saar needs to find some Hail Mary play.
Yeah, and just
then
win
this
it.
game needs to be over because Saar doesn't have.
Anything left.
Saar's basically running on fumes at this point. Borrowed time.
And L1, having already warfared the fleet, now moves in on Saar's home
Oh wow,
system.
that still has not happened.
Yeah, so now he's going to take it. He invades everything onto one planet rather than making any attempt, clearly a deal between him and Barony to leave one ground force on the planet. I think it's a dangerous play to do that.
Yeah.
I think he had plenty to wipe Barony out, and there's no reason to have any sort of deal with Barony in this situation.
At this late in the game, there isn't a reason. But yeah, so it looks like you're right that Hacan did not get to do their plan.
Right. So Hakan's big swing round, or big moment to shine, got completely crushed just because one deal didn't get followed through on. So must be hard for a deal-making kind of player.
Yeah.
And with that home system take, everyone passes, and the Naalu claims 8 resources, as well as the 5 Dreadnought secret. So that puts Naalu up to 8. Sol does not claim the PDS objective. Not sure where we're at. Maybe he hasn't done enough. Maybe he still needs one more. I didn't get an official count, but he only claims 1 victory point for 8 resources. Hacan also claims 8 resources. L1 has the home planet objective, claims that. Saar gets 4 tech of the same color, all blue. Another lucky grab, I would say, for Saar. He's had a good secret objective game.
Right.
That's what's kept him in this game, honestly, is lucky secret objectives. Barony does the 8 resources as well, and also a secret of his own, which is 4 cultural planets, so that puts him up 2 more points. That puts him at 6 from 2 at the start of this round. He had a 4-point swing this round.
So he had a swing round. Just to be clear, it is purple 8, blue 7, red 4, black 6, green 7, yellow 6, going into what is probably the final round.
Right. The next public objective that comes out is spending 16 resources.
So what seems to be the most important thing at this point? We've got a Naalu at 8.
Yep.
That's bad.
It's Naalu. I mean,
that's bad. Also, Naalu
Saar at 7 is bad.
Saar at 7
I
is
mean,
bad.
it's the same problem, honestly, for Saar, is that he's still close enough to a victory position that I bet the table will still work against him, despite Naalu being right there.
Right. Yeah, I think
Hacan missing out on that opportunity to take a home system has really changed the dynamic of this game, because he would have been up to 6 points, or 5 points, I suppose, and Barony would be down a home system if he had been able to make that attack.
It would have been a completely different round.
L1 really tore that out from under him.
So it looks like Naalu's claimed all of their secret objectives as well. So it's really not like Naalu is just having such a great late game right now.
Yeah.
And
again, the theme is unchallenged.
So the new victory point is spend 16 resources, which we went right away to counting everything and everybody. This is obviously very good for Hacan.
Yep. Hacan is still sitting on just a bevy of trade goods. And with the economic equality already done, those are locked in. There is no other thing that can take away trade goods.
Those are there.
So Hacan basically has a sure shot at getting 16 resources.
Okay, so fairly
nothing agenda. It'd be good for Naalu. His fighters gain a bonus, but he always has to build fighters. But that's not a hard task for Naalu to hold to.
It's obviously best for Naalu. At this point, it's not going to be. This isn't even the other thing too that sucks about this is a lot of them really need to make a play happen here. But Imperial Rider's already out.
Right. And Politics Riders. Both of the major riders are done.
So there's not really any rider plays left that are significant.
Right. So Naalu and Barony are already starting to make some deals.
Right.
Talking through it. Barony brings up the Gift of the Precious.
So Barony's kind of looking ahead.
Yeah, Barony sees a play that they can make to possibly pull out a victory, but only if they can get that 0 initiative order. what I don't think I've seen any of our players doing, despite we were doing this at the table, none of the players are counting out everyone's resources for this 2-point swing. So a lot of them have gotten tunnel vision, which is very common, especially under the pressure of an event like this. You just get really focused on what you need to do to accomplish that victory, because everyone's within striking distance. I mean, we've got multiple players at 8 and 7, and so they're all just looking to see what crazy play are they going to pull off to gain that victory for themselves.
Well, I actually think what Barony is doing is really smart, because I think what Barony thinks is that Naalu has Imperial and will win, basically. So Barony is trying to get Gift of the Prescience on the off chance that Hacan does not honor the deal.
And takes Imperial.
Away from so it's very, very smart what Barony does. And I'm not even sure if that's exactly like what Barony was thinking. But if for some reason Hacan does not honor the deal, which, I mean, Hacan obviously should not honor the deal.
But part of this deal is 2 trade goods. So Naalu gives up 2 trade goods. I mean, Barony gives up 2 trade goods for Naalu's Gift of the Prescience and the guarantee that Barony will vote for Naalu.
Right.
So Barony gets the better side of that, I would say, except those 2 trade goods.
If those 2 trade goods were for the 15 and 16, then I don't know.
Then, yeah. So we get 23 votes total on Naalu. The rest of the table, if they don't want Naalu to have super fighters, they have to do something.
Together. They also have another agenda phase to get through. I mean, if I were them, I probably would just sit it out. I would just completely abstain and be like, I don't know what's coming out next, and this is not going to swing things either way.
Right. So Hacan gets 6 votes from Saar. L1 abstains. It's up to Sol and Hacan to take this away from Naalu. Which would also make the deal between Barony and Naalu, in a way, sort of meaningless. Naalu will have spent a lot just to give Barony Gift of the Prescience.
Right.
And Sol and Hacan do it. So Hacan actually does win. So Naalu basically nets 2 trade goods.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
So the Holy Planet of Ixth comes out. This is voting on a cultural planet to become a victory point.
Right.
So a victory point is now on the table. You can't build on that planet, but a contestable victory point is about to hit the table. It's worth noting the fun play with laws like this are if you repeal them, you keep the point.
Yes.
And lose the law. But repeal has already been burned in this game. Naalu burned the repeal very early on in kind of a waste. So no chance of seeing that play.
Right. A lot of the fancy action cards are out. Public Disgrace is not.
Nope. There's still a Public Disgrace, which would be huge right now.
Right. Public Disgrace would have completely changed.
If Hacan honors the deal, you still need a Public Disgrace to stop Naalu taking Imperial.
Right.
L1 drops a Warfare Rider on a planet controlled by Barony. Barony's got all the votes. Basically, everyone else spent too many votes, except for L1, but L1 is opting to just get a Dreadnought instead.
Right.
So he's kind of making a deal with Barony to say, which planet do you want? And just let me get a Dreadnought. It's like the least consequential little rider I could do, and you're still going to get what you want. So Barony gets the victory point. He's now at 7. So again, going into this round 6, our point totals are Naalu at 8, Saar, Sol, and Barony at 7, L1 at 6, and Hacan trailing at 4. The big question I have is where does Lizix go from here? I mean, he moved a major fleet into a home system for the point. He got those 2 points, and now what? I mean, now he needs to clean up all this Barony empty space, I guess, and try to get enough resources to do 16 resources.
Idea was to... I don't know, I think in his head he's just like... He's doing whatever he can. I gotta bring all of it, because otherwise Barony's just going to destroy whatever.
Right. It has to be a big enough threat.
So at this point, it's big enough to where Barony's not going to risk destroying it. So at least he's got a fleet somewhere. Otherwise, he was going to have to split up, not huge fleet, into 2 smaller ones.
Right.
I think he's just... It's hard to know.
Every round has been about only that round for L1. He's never been able to look to the future enough to be able to have a long-lasting strategy. He's just trying to stay alive,
I do think now that we're at the end of it, I think Sol had the worst slice. That wall plus the empty space in front of him. I think that was the worst slice.
I almost think Sol would have been better served to make a deal with Saar than Sol.
Maybe.
He needed to leave his options open, and he should have gone to Saar early on and said, "Hey, the two of us can swallow him up and share this slice. Neither of us look as dangerous because it's not one person getting 2 slices; it's 2
Right.
people getting 1.5, and that saves his game a little bit and gives Saar an out as well."
That's quite a thing to negotiate, but
Yeah.
I also feel like the way it played out, Saar and Hacan were actually the first to trade support for the thrones.
Right. Well, and it makes sense for them because they have no reason to cross their barrier. That was just a sure thing from the get-go. So Barony doesn't miss his window for Gift of the Prescience. I know as a player I probably would have.
Yeah.
I am always bad about forgetting those things, and then I kick myself. But Barony is officially going into this round as the 0 position.
Right.
So
He will score first,
has everything to gain.
no matter what. Now, this is kind of the big moment, and I don't even know if we got a good picture of it, but Hacan can block Imperial, and it does not happen.
Does not happen. If I were at the table, I would be
You would be screaming right now.
and paying Hacan. I mean, I can't pay him
Okay.
during the strategy phase, but Hacan gets Imperial,
So,
and suddenly the table starts going, uh-oh, we should probably count this out.
so currently, as of that moment that just happened, Naalu will win on Naalu's first
Yeah,
turn.
Naalu has
That is-
16
That is
resources.
the fact. Because Naalu does not have Gift of the Prescience, though, everyone will get a turn before Naalu.
Right.
So it is essentially
Up to the table.
them, up to the table.
All they need to do is take some planets. from
Now
him.
we were going nuts at this point,
Yep.
me and you, and I wonder if there's anything of us just like walking around being like, "Oh my god." But it doesn't feel like they all see it quite yet.
No, I don't think. Again, I think they're in tunnel vision. I think they should be looking for it, especially with that Imperial take in the lead. But everyone's just so focused on their own goals and tasks that they're not looking at their neighbors enough.
It's also, it hasn't been a long game, but it has been a
Taxing,
tough one
yeah.
for a lot of them. L1, Sol,
Yeah.
Saar, they've all had like kind of difficult games
Mm-hmm.
where there's been a lot going up against them. Basically, half the table has had a pretty rough go of it.
Right.
The other half has had a pretty like just kind of fun and fine game.
Right.
Hacan in particular, even though Hacan hasn't done that well victory point wise, has had a fun ride. Red picked Warfare, which is right for what
Yeah.
Hacan wanted to do
Yeah.
last round.
Right.
Um,
Naalu gets Imperial.
yeah, Purple has Imperial.
Barony just took Diplomacy. Which is huge, especially given that ground force that's sitting on Saar's homeworld.
Right, so
L1's
which is
fleet
why
doomed.
that's why you should never take that
Exactly.
deal. Never
No,
ever,
don't leave a planet. Or if you have the option to kill all the ground forces below you, you've got to do it.
never do it because it might be a
Even if
trap.
you don't invade the planet, you can let them keep the planet and just kill the. Oh no, you could still Diplo if you control the planet. So
Right.
you should just always wipe it out.
You should. You can't take that risk.
Um,
Green is taking. Green took leadership.
He's been dying for command counters
Right.
all game. It's his only option,
Right.
really.
Black is, I think,
He took politics.
going to take politics.
Sol takes trade here to finish things off. So again, at this point, none of the players seem to be looking at it, but all that needs to happen is taking one planet from Naalu.
Right.
Otherwise, he wins on his turn.
Yeah.
But there's a home system objective out there.
So they are all just basically dark right now. They
Yeah.
are just like in their brains. I'm sure at this point some of them see it.
I think Barony is fully aware.
Yeah, I think Barony was aware in the agenda phase. I think Barony. I think that's why.
Barony knows what he gave him. I think he was maybe relying on somebody else to do something about it.
Okay, so Barony does do the.
This basically crushes L1.
Yeah, so L1 has no.
This is the round for L1.
Never, ever, ever let someone do that to you. Ever. People always try and make it sound like, no, just let me have that one planet underneath it. It's not worth the
It's
risk.
not worth the risk.
To say, I'm sorry, that's not a deal I'm willing to entertain.
Especially when you bring that many dreadnoughts. You're guaranteed the bombardment.
Yeah.
In my mind. I mean, you're not, but you know what I mean.
Right. And L1 had no opportunity to grab Warfare, so that was just a done deal, foregone conclusion right there. All right, so now we have Saar's turn coming up. Which, by the way, I mean, everybody's doing what is essentially their last turn. So that was all Barony had in Barony's pocket. which is a shame because it looks like Barony could have
Had a
possibly
fleet. He could have dived on.
could have
Naalu's.
thrown everything through the
Right.
the gravity rift, which should have that should have happened.
But, and this is maybe a part of the tournament itself. I think Barony looked at it and said, I can get second place here. I could throw everything at Naalu and crush both of our games, and then somebody else completely will win.
That's true.
And maybe I'll end up in 5th place or something.
Yeah.
Or I can just let Naalu win it and get second place. And that's kind of what happens when you offer first, second, and third.
Right,
That's people
right.
take that, and it means something to them. So
Right.
why wouldn't they? It's worth noting Saar also has an opportunity here. He's got Lightwave Deflector. He's got a fleet on Mecatol Rex that could jump onto any of the planets of Naalu's and win, probably.
Yeah, but Saar, I think, has a little bit of tunnel vision himself.
Yes, I think Saar is, especially considering Saar only has one planet, he's literally only looking for what objectives he can score. That's all he cares about, because that's all he's got left.
Right. Some of them are seeing it, some of them aren't. I'm actually not sure anyone sees it besides Barony. I think Barony might be the only one that's truly aware. Okay, he chaos maps a fighter. And then...
Which is an interesting trade, but it's mostly, I think, because he just doesn't have the fleet supply. There's nothing else he can... He's still
Right.
sitting at 2 fleet supply,
Right.
I believe.
So he has activated L1's home system, and he does...
He goes the opposite direction.
the goofy, fun time play. This is probably the wildest play that happens. It's just
Yeah.
a shame that it got delayed. Had it happened last round, I think this game would have gone really differently,
Yeah.
but I think this was just kind of too little too late.
Yep. This is all Saar wanted to do last round, and he got completely blocked.
It's having Neural, having the right action card at the right time is so huge.
Yep.
Insubordination, right when you needed it. Bam. Also, Saar just had such a horrible command counter economy game. Very difficult. So they're fighting that out right now.
He actually only brought 4 fighters and a cruiser, and the rest is all space knock and ground forces. So he's kind of bringing as little as possible to kill this dreadnought and destroyer.
Right, like it's pretty close. I wonder what the odds are on that fight.
And it looks like the ground combat will come down to a PDS and 4 infantry versus 6 infantry. So even the ground combat is a bit of a close call with 2 shots from the PDS for plasma scoring.
Right. Yeah, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look like he's really got this, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. So Hacan and Naalu are having some sort of negotiation, which is like, I think he's probably just trying to figure out if Hacan is on to him.
Right, I think he's...
Because if Hacan takes probably any of his planets,
Right.
he's not going to be able to win this on his first.
Right, his best option is to kind of just like make some strange deals that Hacan is willing to take, so that it diverts Hakan's attention away from his
Yeah,
planets.
so he's definitely...
Because Hacan has the most opportunity to take
Right,
planets
so
from Naalu.
Barony's already out. Saar was kind of the only other one. L1's not going to be able to get there. Sol's not going to be able to get there, likely. Actually, Sol could get to, like, a planet, maybe. So, oof.
Nailbiter space battle here.
Yeah, this-
Cruiser and
this
2
space battle
fighters
is really-
versus a destroyer and a sustained dreadnought at this point.
And it's an upgraded dreadnought, so no direct hit.
Right. We see a 1 and a 1.
Wow, okay, all right. So
Cruiser and fighter
one cruiser
versus-
fighter versus 1 dreadnought. This is going to be pretty wild.
He just needs 1 hit. He needs that cruiser to do what it was born to do, and he gets
All right.
it.
Cruiser hit. Okay, so the infantry invade. This is basically a Hail Mary.
Yeah, this is 6v4 with 2 PDS shots.
Used some,
Morale boost.
maybe.
So it's 4v4 now, after everything.
Okay.
So
Could not be-
couldn't be worse for Saar at this point. L1 turns it into a 3v4. So Saar officially in the true disadvantage.
Oh, that's another hit, at least.
They both got 2 hits.
So now
it's
it's
a 1v2.
1v2.
And Saar loses the ground
So
combat.
that's it.
What's really fun about this play is L1's space dock is attached to L1's home planet, and there are 2 Saar space docks floating above L1's planet. So there are 3 space docks in one system belonging to 2 different players.
Right.
I have never seen this before in
I've
my
never
whole
seen that
life.
either. Yeah, that's probably the...
He's blockading a space dock with a space dock right now.
Right. really wild. You can feel how much people are like kind of at the end
Desperate.
of the game, and yeah, they're playing pretty desperate.
We see an interesting play from L1 here, and it's purely because, again, his whole entire fleet was locked down. He does decide to move the destroyer out of the alpha, and he moves it into the beta. This is in the intent to open up the door to Hacan.
Like the old deal that they had made.
Right.
Which now I guess Hacan could probably make it all the way, but I don't think that's what we're actually going to see.
We see a very anxious Naalu player.
Yeah, he's
one
it's
turn
literally-
away. He's one turn away from winning.
It literally just comes down to, does Hacan see it? Is Hacan going to do something about it? And it was hard to not yell. I will say that. It
Yeah.
was hard to not say, look, count! Count! And it's not just Hacan either. It's Soul too. Soul's
Soul plays trade.
Soul's playing trade. So also, like, Soul is most certainly does not see it at all.
All he does is refresh L1, does a quick 2 for 2, and everybody else gets cut out. But yeah, Soul not making a play. L1 couldn't make a play. Saar missed their opportunity. Barony missed their opportunity.
There's at least one system that Soul could make it to, and it would be like a Hail Mary to stop Naalu, but they're not seeing it yet.
Yeah.
Look at all of us standing around, just like it's almost like that. I feel like would have been the only hint is
Right.
everybody
Everybody
just
started gathering
looking,
around.
because everybody's like, well, it's almost over, and here we are. It's the last
Hacan
act
moves
of-
into Barony and
Yeah,
not Naalu.
and that is
And unfortunately for Hacan, Barony's been sitting on a Minister of Peace all
for a
game.
long time.
Naalu had the option to get rid of it in the early game, too.
Right.
Not that Naalu cares in this moment, but he blocks. Second round in a row, Hacan
So
loses his
Hacan just
opportunity.
had like every time it was Hakan's time to like make some points, just didn't really work
Yep.
out.
And here you see, Naalu counts it out for everyone. A few of the players are stunned. Barony saw it and knows, but everyone else realizes they've just been had. And that's the game. That's it. That's GenCon 2018.
That's literally it. So those two trade goods were for the win, though. You needed those two trade goods to win. Which means if he had lost a single planet, it just goes to show you, like, you need to watch the other players a lot. I don't put too much of it on Saar, really, at all. Saar was having such
No.
a wild, crazy game.
And Saar walks away in third place here.
Right, that's true. So first place ends up being Naalu. Second place ends up being
The Barony of Letnev.
Barony of Letnev.
And all of this, I mean, interestingly enough, all of this is just determined by the initiative order in
Right.
this final round.
Right.
So Barony, with that 0, guarantees him with the tie for second. He's first. And Saar, with leadership, takes third place.
Right.
Which, at least Saar could get that. With the crazy roller coaster game
right.
Saar had, I was really glad to see him in third
And
place.
all of the table playing against Saar, lots of agendas. Saar had the most difficult game
Yeah.
for sure.
Naalu certainly played the most diplomatic game, and it paid off.
Yeah, Naalu played so much about negotiation, so much about talking to every other player, and also being careful about diplomatic relations. Naalu did such a good job of like always staying true to their word, making good deals that were fair deals.
Well, and we'll say this. All of the good, fair deals he made with Hacan are what made Hacan reciprocate in the end.
yes,
Hakan's honesty is what won Naalu this game.
Right.
Hacan could have taken Imperial. Hacan could have invaded Naalu.
but and it
Anything could
could
have happened.
Hacan would have been the dirty player in it because
Right.
Naalu never betrayed
backed
Hacan
down. Nope.
ever. So it would have required Hacan to be like, well, I'm going to go back on my word.
Yep.
Something me and you would have probably
We
had
would.
no
I
problem.
would have had no hesitation.
You would have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But there's a different meta. It's just different.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was crazy. This was a wild thing.
Wonderful game.
Super,
wonderful
super
players.
cool.
And we'll see you all next year.
Yeah, we'll do this forever. As long as they do this, we'll do this.